Well, the big day is finally here, and we will soon have a better picture of what Microsoft has planned for the future of Xbox. And I did say what Microsoft has planned because I believe much of what we will hear from the Xbox podcast with Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Matt Booty will largely be coming directly from Microsoft marching orders. We even have brand new information from the internal meeting and alleged quotations from Sarah Bond that I think are very telling. I already observed that Phil Spencer spoke to employees the same way he spoke to the public back in November after the CFO's remarks, and what Sarah Bond apparently said is a significant glimpse into the real strategy of Xbox and what the podcast will likely point towards. I believe that today won't just make big changes for Xbox or announce big changes for Xbox, but it will be a big change for the future of gaming. The far-reaching impact of one of the largest gaming property owners shifting in strategy will have reverberations for years. And that's not fear-mongering because this could lead to good things, but it will likely be somewhat of a shockwave-inducing event to certain pockets of the Xbox fan base. Now, I put all of the good information right here at the beginning of the video. It's a longer video because it's a monologue that opens up a live stream. If you like this kind of live content, make sure you hit subscribe and that bell button so you don't miss out on my shows. Xbox is finally ready to tell us about the future for the company. After weeks of speculation and rumors, the Xbox podcast will take place later today with Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Matt Booty. And brand new info coming from the internal meeting with some quotes attributed to Sarah Bond are sending a very loud and clear message. They have big plans that exceed far beyond the Xbox console. And I have my own predictions about what today will look like. But honestly, anybody's guess is as good as mine, given how fast this all seems to be moving. And how in the dark the gaming press and the most connected individuals are. Nobody can get a clear answer, including Xbox employees. So first, I want to talk about what happened. Now, this includes, as I said, brand new information coming from the internal meeting, and they're putting these quotes out there saying that this is something that Sarah Bond had said. Now, we had already heard assurances from Phil Spencer at that meeting that they were going to continue to make Xbox consoles. You won't be surprised that Sarah Bond's messaging is very much like Phil's in that it completely dodges the question about first-party games coming to PlayStation or Nintendo. Second, I will look at the reactions to all of this because, boy, they are all over the place. But there are also some interesting predictions about handhelds that actually have me apprehensively excited. Lastly, I will tell you what I think and what I think is likely to happen. Now, I tried to avoid this yesterday. I didn't want to discuss Game Pass hardware and what they're going to say about first party. I tried to mainly focus on the timeline for Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, and Sea of Thieves. I thought that was interesting. But the bigger picture for Game Pass and hardware and first party property going forward, I think that's far more interesting because it will be more industry impacting than moving like Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves for both Xbox consumers and what were previously considered rival platforms. So first, what happened? First and foremost, we will be co-streaming the Xbox podcast at 3 p.m. Eastern with Phil, Sarah, and Matt. So if you're watching this part later, you're watching me talk and it's later, you can check my past broadcast of it. It'll have my thoughts at the end, my thoughts throughout. I try not to interrupt when I co-stream, so I usually wait till the ends to debrief. Then I will be joining Ginger Prime in a roundtable discussion about the podcast after. I will have that streamed on this channel as well. You can watch it anywhere that you would like. But the big part to add to the ongoing narrative is what Sarah Bond allegedly said at the internal meeting. This is the meeting where Phil Spencer said that they would continue to make consoles, but he said this would be happening across a variety of devices. Well, considering the new info we're now hearing, combined with other leaks and insider information, his comment makes a little bit more sense, and so does what Sarah Bond had to say. Again, this is something that has been claimed by anonymous sources of employees who were at the meeting, so this is alleged, but we will probably know very soon if this messaging matches when they take to the live stream in the podcast. So, a report from Inverse.com was published just yesterday, and the title of the article is, "Why did Xbox show Palworld on every screen at a company meeting?" Now, they claim that multiple Microsoft employees spoke with them about the internal town hall that took place on February the 6th. And up to now, all we've heard was Phil Spencer's vague comments about Xbox and consoles in the future. This new report is now claiming things about Sarah Bond and what she said. Apparently, this is what they claim. Every screen is an Xbox, Bond said in an internal meeting, according to multiple sources who requested anonymity as they were not authorized to speak to the media. Now, This seemingly is related to something they did at the meeting. According to employees who spoke anonymously with Inverse.com, Microsoft showed images of Palworld on tablets, TV screens, monitors, and handheld devices. Internally, employees expressed surprise at seeing so much Palworld and joked about the possibility of an Xbox handheld, which has also been rumored. Xbox did not return multiple requests for comment. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to talk more about the handheld thing in a moment because that actually kind of excites me, and I'm going to say why. But after the article quoted Bond saying every screen is an Xbox, they said the following. Bond spoke extensively about Xbox's strategy of existing on multiple kinds of devices and greater ambitions of becoming the #1 cross-platform gaming company. Keep in mind, this is in the wake of rumors about first-party games like Starfield going to PlayStation and other games going to Nintendo. Instead of answering that question, you have Phil saying, listen, we're going to keep making consoles across a variety of devices, okay? Then they seem to hint that they might be doing a handheld. Then Sarah Bond says, every screen is an Xbox, and we want to be the #1 cross-platform gaming company. This will likely be very similar to the messaging that we're going to get from the Xbox podcast. I would not be surprised at all if Sarah Bond says something to the effect of, we see every screen as an Xbox. You can already sense the division of labor for the messaging, right? They sit down with the employees. Phil talks about the future of the hardware. Sarah talks about the vision for the Xbox brand being every screen, and I could see Matt Booty talking about the first-party games given his recent position over Bethesda. I also think that every screen is an Xbox really makes pushing for keeping certain games exclusive feel kind of awkward. More on that when I share my thoughts, okay? But I did want to circle back to the handheld part, okay? Recent claims that the Surface team has been helping with the next console got some people theorizing about the other insider claims that the next Xbox would be a handheld hybrid. Now, Jez Corden weighed in on this, and he claims that, listen, the Surface team has been helping with the console since the One S. So he thought this was non-news. Now, my only thought is maybe they have increased the Surface team's contribution and work if, in fact, the rumors are true about a handheld, okay? So maybe that's why it got circulated around like a news story. And the fact that, like everything else, Microsoft refuses to comment, it makes me think handheld plans are in the works. Jez Corden also reported on February the 1st of this year that Xbox greenlit new hardware projects in the past couple of weeks. So he's referring back to like January of this year that, like, listen, they've already greenlit a bunch of new hardware projects. So you're all caught up on what happened. Literally, this is all kind of brewing the day before the podcast. You probably saw a lot of people tweeting. You've probably seen a lot of videos and headlines and articles saying, listen, every screen is an Xbox. So what were the reactions to all of this? Now, the most humorous response, and I question putting this in the monologue, but I'm going to. People kept asking me, why aren't you talking about PlayStation going multi-platform? Because reading comprehension is very challenging. Nobody's actually looked at what has said. They're reading tons of misquotes. People are really struggling to understand what Hiroki Totoki said, and I will likely have to do a show on it. But to think that his very basic remarks about PC is somehow a bigger story than the Xbox podcast, or Sarah Bond saying that every screen is an Xbox, I think folks are really struggling for a gotcha moment. The PlayStation news hit literally while I was sleeping before yesterday, and this show that I'm doing right now and the entire day was planned since the announcement from Xbox because it's pretty significant news. I don't pivot to something. I plan, I research, and I accurately lay out the information. This is something the gaming press is really struggling with, as IGN has once again been community noted for directly misquoting Sony, and numerous other gaming outlets as well as personalities and Xbox fans are misquoting Sony. So forgive me if I don't jump on a story that's been spun up into a negative false information outlet from gaming press that can't seem to be bothered with accurately quoting the companies that they're reporting on. So yes, I'll cover the Sony story, and it won't be hard to be more accurate than the tabloids of the gaming world who can't seem to read 5 words and quote them properly, which is uniquely frustrating as it fuels false narratives, and then when I push back against those false narratives with, basic facts, direct quotes, screenshots, emails, I'll be labeled a pony. Yes, I believe in directly quoting rather than completely changing what somebody said. What an unbelievable and outlandish commitment that I have to truth and accuracy. If that makes me a pony, then I'm not quite sure what that makes the various gaming outlets who can't get basic facts right. So, the rest of the reactions weren't as mindless and tribal, but they did hit on some of the notes that we've been hearing up to now. Related to the handheld stuff that we're hearing, I saw an interesting response and a prediction. They're going to move into the mobile Switch space with this handheld. That's what people are saying. They're trying to cut in on that growing market. Now, one person indicated that this would be a strong move if they can get the handheld to be stronger than a Switch. We obviously have to wait and see what the Nintendo Switch 2 looks like, but I actually like this idea. Handhelds right now are showing good signs of growth, and the price point is something that consumers would be more open to being on the higher end, right? They've been selling the Xbox Series S more than X and kind of driving the low entrance cost, but a handheld being high in price is something that I believe people would expect. If Xbox drops a solid handheld, I just need 60 FPS performance, and I'm very intrigued. And it would certainly help them cut into a market that PlayStation currently doesn't have. The Portal is an accessory to the PS5. It's not a handheld, and that's why it's only $199. But we are hearing that Sony's working on a true handheld as well. So it sounds like companies are taking notice of the handheld growth, and much like the cell phone space, they are finding ways to get into that new market share. Now, some are making predictions about Game Pass. Well, they're gonna Game Pass, they're going to make changes to it, okay? Last, day and date's going to not happen anymore, or they're going to lower how much day and date takes place. Now, this would be a pretty big shift. Not that putting first-party games on competing platforms isn't a big shift already, but I'm not really sure if they could announce anything about, we're going to do day and date less, or day and date's going away. That would be an odd thing to announce. I feel like they would just slowly do that and not really draw attention to it. It wouldn't surprise me if, like Blade, for example, that might be one of the first games that just doesn't land day and date on Game Pass. I'm not saying that it won't, but if you look at the way it's been marketed up to now, it just doesn't seem to be headed to a day and date Game Pass. It doesn't seem to be headed towards exclusivity. I could see it being one of the first big first-party games that lands day and date on all platforms, except for maybe the Switch, depending on Switch 2 performance power, and then it just doesn't hit Game Pass. It doesn't land there day and date. I think that could be the case for Blade, and then maybe moving forward, that's what they do. They just slowly increase how many games just show up on Game Pass maybe later, 6 months later or something like that, still adding to the value, but not pushing day and date quite as much as they have up to now. I'm also seeing folks make predictions about first party. People are saying, well, some, but not all. They're going to only move some games to other platforms, but they're not going to move all of them. Now, this is another one that I'm struggling with, mainly because Sarah Bond's telling Xbox employees that every screen is an Xbox. Well, that reminds me of the time when I worked at AT&T, and they told us, you are not wireless reps anymore, you are now AT&T reps. So they wanted us to know, you're not just selling wireless, you're selling home services. It was basically terrible. Okay, we spent 5 years telling people they didn't need landline phones anymore because of cell phones, and now I'm supposed to convince them that landlines are all the rage, right? Well, anyway, this is kind of what Sarah Bond's messaging sounds like. It's like, listen, get on board. Every screen is an Xbox. We want to be the biggest cross-platform gaming company. Now, none of that sounds like we're only going to move a few titles over, okay? Now, they might only move a few titles that have already launched, but then I think every new release will be multi-plat after a certain date. I think that's why Starfield was discussed. It's big, it has crazy pull in the market, and moving it over would generate tons of free advertising, as it's already generated tons of free advertising. Now, the last prediction I'm seeing is this. People are saying they're going to try to put Game Pass in more places. I don't know if this is going to be the focal point as much as the every screen is an Xbox, okay? That's a bigger messaging point, I think, than focusing on Game Pass. I'm sort of split on this. Part of me feels like Game Pass is just going to start to take a marketing back seat because it's just not a big revenue driver for Xbox. But I also wonder if it will still be their main catalyst for folks to play on a mobile device or a smart TV. Now, my gut says Game Pass starts to get mentioned less and less, and it's going to get less of a marketing focus. Now, I could be wrong, but they don't really say the word exclusive anymore, not since Starfield, and I even felt that starting with Starfield, they really started focusing less on Game Pass. So, what are my thoughts on all of this, all right? First and foremost, I believe Sarah Bond has really set the table. Every screen is an Xbox is a vision for the brand and the company that just feels antithetical to exclusives. It would be weird to say every screen is an Xbox and then turn around and say this is an Xbox exclusive. That doesn't even make any sense at that point. Yeah, I've heard people accuse Xbox of mixed messaging before, but that would be pretty blatant to say every screen's an Xbox. This is an Xbox exclusive. What? What does that mean if every screen is an Xbox, and how can something be exclusive to Xbox? So my prediction about first-party games and PlayStation and Nintendo, I think it breaks into two parts. First, the games that are already out, right? I think they may decide to hold off on Starfield, at least for now, and then they'll just do it later once the tone and the brand shift has settled on the public. Will anybody really rage about Starfield after Indiana Jones and other big titles land on PlayStation? If PlayStation gets titles like that, I mean, what's the bother at that point? The whole brand has shifted. So I think they're going to comb through games that have already launched and maybe pick what they think could perform the best. But the second part of my prediction concerns future titles. I think there is a date, and once we pass it, all games are going to be day and date on multiple platforms. The original person who started all this leak information on like a forum, that's what they said. Sometimes I think this could mean that maybe the Switch gets passed over, depending on target audience and performance needs, but that's where I think we're headed. Now, this obviously is related to hardware. What does this mean for the Series S? If you're building a next-gen game, and you start working with a PS5 dev kit or even a PS5 Pro dev kit, well, if the Switch 2 is able to leverage DLSS like we're hearing, well, where does the Series S factor in here? In 3 years, is it just a cloud box? And what about future hardware? Phil made assurances that they will keep making consoles, but he said it would be across a variety of devices. That sounds like we're going to be getting a handheld and maybe that console cloud hybrid that I've been talking about that was in that one FTC document. I will be very interested if they decide to try another Series X Project Scarlet device, something high on performance. I personally don't think they will after what happened with the Series X, and if they shift into an every screen is an Xbox vision, having a high-end loss lead console just doesn't make any sense. Cutting into the handheld market and pushing cloud, well, that makes more sense underneath that vision. So lastly, what do I think they're going to do with Game Pass? I've talked about the first-party property. I've talked about the hardware. Well, what do they do with Game Pass? As I said a moment ago, I think they're going to slowly change it. Some have said that they will move day and date to Ultimate, and then they're going to raise the price of Game Pass Ultimate. Now, sub-services are certainly going through the whole raise the price phase right now, along with all the sub-services for TV and stuff. They're all trying to merge together, which is going to be great. So I could see Game Pass Core and Game Pass Standard smashing together. For around that $10 range, what they're going to do is they're going to give you a set amount of games. You're just going to be kind of adopted into Game Pass Core. And maybe they periodically like add games to it or rotate games in and out of it. But Game Pass Ultimate could have its price go up, and that's where day and date could live. Honestly, I think they could just end up leaving it alone. They're not going to want to draw any attention to it. And maybe they just decrease how many games hit day and date on Game Pass. They see potential for Game Pass growth on PC as well as on PC in the Asian market. So they likely have plans for it, but I feel Game Pass is going to look very different in a few years. So that's what I think. What do you think? So let me give you my closing thoughts and conclusions on this one. I'm going to be honest. The article that talked about what Sarah Bond had said, it just completely changed my monologue. That sort of vision for the brand and the company coming from her, right? She's the next head and she's the next face of Xbox, okay? It's likely what they stress today. And the consolation prize for those crossing their fingers, hoping that none of this is happening, it's likely just going to be a stay of execution on Starfield, right? I feel like this podcast is going to end and everyone's going to run to my timeline and YouTube like, see, you were wrong, Starfield's not coming. I think that might be your only consolation prize. I think this is going to be a pretty significant change in the vision casting in the future for this brand. And even if Starfield never makes the jump, it certainly seems like everything else will going forward. The second thing I want to say is, the thing I'm most interested in from all of this is the handheld aspect. Mobile processing power is getting better and better, so naturally, handhelds will be well above that, I would imagine, because they're bigger. They have more space for hardware in their peripherals. So seeing all three companies duke it out in that space, that'll be exciting. We'll have a Nintendo Switch 2, a PlayStation handheld if the rumors are true, or an Xbox handheld if the rumors are true. This new battleground where Nintendo does have a huge head start, but Xbox and PlayStation could focus on very different avenues with it. They could focus on cloud, they could focus on power, they could focus on better performance. My conclusion is this: no matter what happens today, I feel that it'll be a moment in gaming history that we look back on. Remember that podcast with Phil, Sarah, and Matt? That was when everything changed. The acquisitions, the layoffs, the massive changes, the gaming industry is certainly in flux. And it's happening in a year where more games are launching than seemingly ever before. So I'm happy just to be here along for the ride, and I'm honored that folks come to me and my channel for coverage of the industry. So those are my thoughts. And now it's time to hear your thoughts. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I greatly appreciate it. I really do mean it. The fact that you guys come to me for coverage of events like this and that we pull the way that we do, it's just a huge honor. We shifted into variety coverage, like a little over 2 years ago, and it was really, really difficult. And the fact that we're able to do gaming industry coverage at this scale and level, and we're a scrappy little channel, man. You guys are really helping us out here, and I greatly appreciate that. It supports me. It supports my family. We've got a great community. So it's going to be a big day, man. I really think that this is going to have long-lasting impact. We're going to look back and be like, do you remember that day? So go through the rituals, guys. I want to know what you think. You got Sarah Bond saying every screen is an Xbox. I definitely think we're going to hear that a couple of times today from her. And let me check the fan funding here. Big Juicer with 19 months. Thank you so much. Kill You with 35 months. And Han shot first, and so did you. Jordan Lanham with the first gifted member of the day. We are actually having a big incentive for you guys. Friday night, we were not going to do a member stream, but if you can get us to 3,000 members before Friday, we're going to come back from a thing that we're doing. We're doing like a thing with some friends, and we'll come back, and we'll do a later Friday night stream, and I will play Helldivers 2 with my wife. It will be hysterical, and everybody can come, including gifted members, as 5 more comes in from RPG. Thank you so much, and I'll give you guys a heads up on how many members we need in a moment. So we today are going to be co-streaming the event, so don't forget that. At around 2:30 or so Eastern, we will be doing that event. Mash with a 5 bomb comes in and takes us to 11 members on the day. I greatly appreciate that, Mash. Thank you so much. I'm going to be setting up again the mobile stream for over there on Rundown. And again, you guys don't need to watch there. If you get like a ping from that channel, don't sweat that. That's nothing. That's not something for you unless you prefer to watch on mobile. Like I genuinely, it doesn't matter to me where you guys like to watch, just as long as you're supporting the channel and hitting like and all those things. We greatly appreciate it. And so let me get this going here. So today we're going to be talking about my predictions for the Xbox podcast, and I've already kind of lined those out. We talked about Game Pass, we talked about hardware, we talked about the first-party property, we talked about the fact that Sarah Bond said, hey, we are, every screen is an Xbox. So I want to know what you guys have to say, man. Chat is buzzing right now, and we greatly appreciate that. We greatly appreciate your guys' support of the channel and hanging out with us. So I want to know what you think we're going to hear today. Is there anything major do you think that they're going to be doing? There's a $500 controller? What are you talking about? A $500 controller? A 23 spot from Connor says, PlayStation CEO shows how to do things the correct way. Unlike Xbox, it's why gamers are very upset. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're going to probably have to cover that in another stream. And again, the issue is, to me, is he was crystal clear. Like, I think people are construing words and misrepresenting words, and we're going to have to do basically a fact check stream, to basically be like, this has been completely misquoted. Today, and this is one of the things I think people are frustrated by, we're hearing from anonymous sources that, like, Phil said, hey, we're going to keep making consoles across a variety of devices. We got to hear from insiders and anonymous sources that, like, Sarah Bond says every screen is an Xbox. Like, that's significant. That's seismic. That's a big shift. Now, I know they've been saying more screens, but to define the brand in that way. Like, remember when we covered this in November and Phil Spencer was like, he tells Famitsu that PlayStation and Nintendo are part of the Xbox community, okay? It seemed very similar to when he talked about the Call of Duty community, right? And that just kind of makes marketing sense. You're wanting to talk to those people like, hey, we want to make sure you're taken care of. You're a part of our community. We own that property now, right? We're going to take good care of you, okay? But then the CFO says what he says, and we're like, oh, that's pretty significant. They're going to start moving their first-party property. Then Satya Nadella says what he says. All of that just kind of sounds like, hey, we own a lot of property now. We're going to put it elsewhere. But they weren't casting this vision that, like, listen, man, this isn't even Xbox as an ecosystem. They're just like, every screen is an Xbox. Anywhere you can play a game, we consider that an Xbox. Okay. Well, let me ask you something. Does that mean that when you talk about Xbox exclusives or, this is an Xbox game, does that mean as long as it's anywhere there's a screen, it's an Xbox game? Like that's, like I said, it's antithetical to any exclusivity language. How do you reconcile those two statements would be my question. How do you reconcile those two? By saying, hey guys, every screen is an Xbox. And if in the next sentence you're like, this is an Xbox exclusive, it's like, well, what does that even mean now? Rob V with 17 months as a VIP. Feels like Microsoft thinks there's this giant population of untapped gamers that will start gaming because Game Pass is on their TV. I'm not totally convinced that's the case, but hey, could be wrong. Yeah, and a 5-bomb comes in from Joker Quinn. Thank you so much. I don't even know if it's that. Rob. My personal take on this is they're not looking at like, oh yeah, we're going to get a ton of people on mobile. Oh yeah, we're going to get a ton of people on smart TVs. Number one, I think they think mobile's an amazing revenue stream. Now we have that. We have King. We get that revenue now. Excellent. That's wonderful. That's very profitable industry to be attached to overnight like that. They have King. I think they're looking at TVs, smart TVs, and they're saying that's just one more place for us to show up. We want to be a household name. I mean, they are a household name, but like they want to be a household name. Remember when Phil Spencer said they saw their true competitors as like Google and Amazon? You turn on your smart TV, what do you see? You see YouTube, you see Amazon Prime, you see, Disney. Like they want to be thought of in that way. Like you turn your TV on and oh yeah, there's Xbox. I don't think they're like, oh, there's this massive untapped market. I think it's just, no, we're literally going to be everywhere. It doesn't matter. You have a screen that can play video games. We're there. I do wonder about Starfield, though, says the Elemental Hero, because some companies were trying to remove the physical copies of Starfield, and I feel like companies are hurting themselves. I mean, the whole discussion about physical versus digital, people are like, oh, we're headed to digital. I do think there's an era of gaming where we are primarily digital, because I think even you're going to get to the point where the games themselves become so large that the physical aspect of the media just becomes like, why would we continue to do this? And I know that's upsetting for people, but obviously compression technologies could get more advanced to help with that, but there are certain markets where physical still does very well, so I don't think we're going to switch to a digital-only economy in gaming as fast as some people think. I think it's going to continue to grow, and I know people are frustrated by the fact that games keep, that the Tomb Raider remaster game just launched, no physical release. There's no physical release for like Hellblade 2. right? I get that people are irritated by that. They want to be able to go buy like the physical release. There wasn't a physical release for Alan Wake 2, and many people attributed that to that game not having the greatest of sales, and it got all this great notoriety and praise, but its actual sales volume, many people said, I was reading a couple analysts that were like, this thing would have done better if it would have had a physical presence. And it's and again, you have to consider the fact that there are certain pockets of the world that are not all about digital. They don't want to download things via digital. They want to own the disc, or it's easier for them to get the disc, internet speeds and all of that. So when does the show start? The show with everybody on at the podcast that we are going to be co-streaming, it starts at 3 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to go live 11, 12, 1, 2. So we're going to go live in 4 hours around 2:30. And currently the goal for membership, you guys already got us off to a nice start. The goal for membership is 3,000. We are at 2,871. That's such an easy day. We literally just need to hit 100, and then my 20, that should push us over. That should be enough, because by the time we get there, we'll probably have a couple extras. So we just need to hit 100 members today over here. I'll gift the 20 that I owe as soon as I'm to help with the momentum. I do it immediately now. And then Friday night, my wife and I will play Helldivers. And everybody can come to that. That's a gifted member, open door. We'll put her behind. We'll put her behind the emoji. We do that so you can kind of sample the content that we do. Gifted members, you get into the Discord, and you can sample some of the members-only content. And if you like it, you can upgrade for $1, and you can get the full membership and come to everything. 96% of PlayStation gaming sales for December were digital. The digital age is here. Yeah, again, there are pockets that are going to be hesitant to do that, and that's just going to be just loss of revenue if you don't launch your game physical in certain markets. I'm not at all pushing back on the fact that digital is not slowly becoming the norm. It certainly is. I think people are predicting digital only just a little bit too fast. I just do. The rumors about the Nintendo Switch 2, being backwards compatible and continue to have physical. I also think that's just something people need to consider. That again, there are pockets of the world where digital only is just not going to take off as fast as it might in like in America. If all of a sudden tomorrow you could no longer buy physical video games, you were just like, nope, can't do it. It wouldn't affect the vast majority of the audience. It would affect them, and they'd be annoyed, but they'd still be able to play a game. They just might have to wait, because certain internet, depending on where you live, if you're far out in the sticks, or if you're in the suburbs where the infrastructure is just oversold, or maybe you just can't afford the highest speeds, you're going to go to download a huge game like Call of Duty or something, and then you're going to be like, well, I guess I'll play it tomorrow. I think it would irritate people, but you would still have the ability to get the game. There are pockets of the world where if you remove digital, they're going to be like, well, I can't get the game, dude. My internet's not fast enough for that. When am I going to wait 2 days, to play the game? And there's also just pockets of the world where they prefer physical. That's what they want. They don't want, to download a game digitally. So I'm listening while playing the new No Man's Sky Expedition. Gaming life's good right now. It really is. Yo, Shangle, thanks for jumping back in as a member. Welcome on in. Appreciate you so much. Digital is more or less than normal, but physical is not going away anytime soon, especially in the more developing countries. Remove physical, he meant. Oh, I might have misspoken. Sorry. And again, this touches on what Sarah Bond's talking about, right? They start showing Pow World, which I'm actually interested in this. I wonder if are they just capitalizing on Pow World, or are they in talks with Pow World? That would be what's interesting about it. Did Microsoft lock them up and say, listen, we want you for us, right? But again, that just seems antithetical to saying every screen is an Xbox. If every screen is an Xbox, why are you going to waste money and funds locking up a game? Well, what are you locking it up for? What purpose would it serve? Well, we don't want PlayStation to have it. Well, why? What difference does it make? You're not pushing hardware. They're not pushing hardware. I'm not saying they're leaving hardware, but they're certainly not pushing hardware. they constrain Series X. I mean, there's rumors they're slowing production of the hardware. The hardware's not even saturating that well. So it's like, well, they're not going to push hardware. So why would you lock Power World down? I don't see a business angle of them locking Power World down. Now, I could see them trying to buy Power World, right? I could see them trying to buy Power World and say, hey, you guys have got a cash cow over there. We want to buy you. We want to help with funding. We want to get that game in more places. That game could do really well on Nintendo. It could do well if Nintendo lets it come over. That game could do very well on PlayStation. I actually think if they're given the two choices, do we try to lock down Power World in an exclusivity deal, or do we try to buy Power World, or the developers? They'll just try to buy it. They'll be like, no, yeah, let's put you under the Xbox umbrella, you know? Banking everything on Power World? I don't think they're banking everything on Power World, Matthew. I think they're using it as an example, right? They're using it as an example. They're saying, listen, if you got a game like this and it's everywhere, think of the power that is. I don't think they're saying, well, we're going to bank our future on Power World. I think they were using it as an example, as like a test case to say, all right, they're basically they're selling a vision to the employees, right? They're trying to convince them, like, hey, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. Because, like, the whole world is saying, what are you doing with first-party property? What's the marching orders? And Phil's like, we're going to keep making consoles across a variety of devices. And they're like, that doesn't answer my question, Phil, but okay. What are you doing with first-party video games? And Sarah Bond is like, every screen is an Xbox. They're selling a vision. That's what they're doing. You know? That they are selling a vision. Why are people saying Asmongold is the best? Asmongold is boss? Did somebody bring him up in something he said, or are you guys are just celebrating Asmongold? So 34 million Xbox Series consoles isn't that bad, but yeah, it should be more. Well, and it's not just that it's not that it's bad, it's that it's not where they needed it to be. If they wanted hardware to turn around this time for them, they needed to exceed the previous gen, and they're not. They're not going to. Connor says 1,100 people are watching the stream. He's like, let's get some more likes. Let's do it. Yeah, there's almost 1,200 people here, man. Thank you guys so much for choosing to watch here. I know some of you hate watch. That's okay. You know, you got to spend your time doing something, so you're spending it here. To the rest of you, man, I hope you guys enjoy the coverage today. I do. It's an honor that people come to a channel of this size in this kind of a turnout. It's just incredible. You guys really hit, you as a community, you hit well above our weight class, and I really appreciate it. Every time I turn on and see a day like today, I'm like, what is going on, you know? It's really a privilege, and it's exciting, man. It's exciting. It really is. It's like, this is it. This is a big change, man. Let's see what happens. Now, I know some people, they feel like they're watching a slow motion car crash. I don't think that's necessarily what's going on. Now, it might feel that way if you're hanging out in Twitter spaces. You know, it can get a little emotional out there. But I actually think this is exciting. You know, Xbox has a lot of money. Microsoft has a lot of money, I mean. Microsoft has a lot of money. And, yeah, Paul World. Doc Dark calling it Paul World. I love that. I was like, Paul World? I was like, I don't know who Paul is, but apparently he's having a really great year. Yo, Shadow with a 2-spot says, did they have the press conference yet? No. Okay, so if you guys are wondering, we will co-stream the event. It'll be a separate stream. It will be later, okay? It's almost 11 o'clock Eastern, my time. So from 11 to noon, and then noon to 1 and noon to 2, we're going to just be probably hanging out here or hanging out in members, okay? So in about 3.5 hours or so, I'm going to boot up a new stream, and we're going to co-stream the Xbox podcast. So subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, and then you can be here. When the podcast is over, I'm going to debrief with you guys for about 20 minutes, and then I'm going to jump in a podcast with Ginger Prime, J-Dub, and Kirk from What's New Video Games. So that will be this afternoon. You're going to get plenty of coverage here. Mash with a 10 spot says, my problem with Phil Spencer is he says good morning in the direction of Xbox for the next decade the exact same way. You can't even tell what's important and what is trivial. Hotshot says, why didn't I get notified? I have no idea. There's an awful lot of people here. They got notified, I guess. But there was a pie chart that showed what I'm saying, that they did show Nintendo. Oh, you're having a debate with somebody else. Creature says the slow motion car crash has been happening for 20 years. This is finally a correction. Xbox isn't going away. It's changing, and for the better. Yeah, I don't know if everybody's going to see it that way. For me, as I said yesterday, I would have preferred, this is my preference as a consumer, I would have preferred them invest the $70 billion in their property. I would have liked them to have treated Halo much better than they did. They should have had massive support behind that studio. They should not have had that studio in the situation that it was in. I would have much preferred my Series X to land like the Project Scarlet that they said it was going to be, and that I had like a whole litany of amazing first-party next-gen games right now. That would have been my preference. So I don't look at this and think, yep, this is better. This is going to be for the better. I'm like, I mean, this isn't what I wanted, but hopefully some good can come out of it. Like I said, I'm more excited about the handheld stuff. It's like if they can make a really awesome handheld, and then that adds that innovation in the market that pushes things forward. So then maybe that puts pressure on PlayStation to have a good handheld, or maybe it puts pressure on other handheld companies to make really good handhelds. Like, I don't know. Like, if there's one thing I know about the Surface team and what they've done with their devices, they make good stuff. So that could be a really, really good thing. I just am kind of bummed that it doesn't seem to me. This is obviously just my opinion and my prediction. It doesn't seem to me like we're going to have a strong high-end Xbox console in the future. And, that to me is a bummer. That's the bummer in it. Like, I know there are people that are way more upset about this than others. I get why they're upset. There's a lot of identity wrapped up in this, and then there's, they have their podcasts, their shows, their Twitter handles, and everything's just kind of rooted in Xbox. And if every screen is an Xbox, that doesn't really feel like a brand anymore, right? It kind of feels like well, what am I a part of now? I get why people are sort of reeling from this and sort of feeling like it's untethering them. The doctor's office with 18 months says, hope everyone's doing well. It's going to be interesting to hear what their plan is for the future of the Xbox brand. Hopefully it is good for all gamers, man. Thank you so much for 18 months, man. By the way, the doctor's office, if you're paying for your own membership, you want to bump up from Gifted to the standard member tier. Gifteds are $5 because they're reserved for when people gift members, and then the standard member is $6. You're going to miss out on some streams if you stay at that tier. We made that change earlier this year. We want to have streams with my wife where we don't necessarily always let the gifted members come. But this Friday night, they can come. If we get 100 members today, I'll gift the 20 that I owe, and we'll hit 3,000 members again, and then it'll be a later stream on Friday, but it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. The Mean Joe Green over here on Reforge Rundown says, even if they claim to further support the Xbox console, it will certainly die without exclusives. Well, and here's the thing, okay? They're not going to see it as quote-unquote dying without exclusives. They're shifting, because when Phil Spencer tells the employees, and he's like, listen, we are going to keep making Xbox consoles, ... across a variety of devices. It's like, wait a minute. Across a variety of devices? I've never heard a console described in that way. Well, what's he describing? He's describing a cloud access point, a cloud hybrid console. He's probably describing a handheld. He's describing, hardware efforts that will give more people access into, Xbox, but not like, oh yeah, we got to have a high-end console. Yo, Severin Evans with a month of membership says, Lono, I think more games in more places is a good thing. Exclusivity is a toxic practice. I don't agree with that. They will have to make a good product instead of gatekeeping. I think accusing Nintendo and PlayStation of a toxic practice by having exclusivity is not entertaining or acknowledging the business aspect of it. I think the people that get ideologically on this soapbox completely ignore what the developers say. Like, developers consistently say, when we build for one ecosystem, it's easier. The games come out better. The games come out faster. And you're like, I don't care. Exclusivity is toxic. I cannot endorse an ideology that is not based on facts. It's based on feelings. I can't get behind that. There's no business acumen behind it. There's no analysis of the budgets in the industry and the developer input. It's just, well, I don't like it, so it's toxic. It just doesn't feel facts-based. It feels feelings-based. Yo, a gifted member from JC coming in. And that takes us to 17 members on the day. As soon as we hit 25 members, guys, I gift 5 to help keep the momentum, so help you guys hit the 3,000 faster. I used to wait until the end, but the problem with doing that is sometimes we lose a little bit of momentum. A $5 tip from Severin Evans. Also, just to throw this in there, if they actually make hardware people want to buy without gatekeeping exclusivity, I think that makes it more desirable. Wait, hang on. You got to explain that to me, Severin. So if they actually make hardware people want to buy. Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying if the hardware is really, really good, that's what'll drive the purchase. Here's the challenge to what you're saying, Severin. The public is not super tuned into this. The public doesn't look at a console or a handheld and know all the ins and outs of the hardware. So how are you going to motivate them to buy the hardware? How? Are you going to try to educate them on processing power, frames per second, resolution? Do you want to try to, educate the general public on those things? What do you think is easier to motivate people to buy a console with? Well, this gaming system here has XYZ teraflops and this much memory and this much storage space and memory, and the GPU's been updated and blah, 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 blah. Or do you say, oh yeah, this console over here, yeah, that's where you can play Halo. That's where you can play Spider-Man. Like, the public's going to respond to the games. They're not going to respond to, like, well, that's really good hardware. I don't think that moves the needle for them, not nearly as much as games do. A 5 spot from Severin Evans. Lono, does a game make more money on more platforms or on less? I think it's a fact that multi-platform games sell more than exclusives, or am I wrong? Games making more money on multi-platform is not an absolute statement. It's not an absolute truth. It's not an axiom. You could have instances where a multi-platform game would make less money than if they would have just focused on building for one platform. Do you want to know why? Because the budget would go beyond potentially what good margins would be. Think of it this way. If you're going to spend this much money to launch the game on PlayStation 5 only, and you only need to sell this much to break even, and then the rest is the margin, okay? When you bring the game to other platforms, so you gotta optimize your game now for the Nintendo Switch, the Series S, the Xbox. You gotta optimize your game for the litany of hardware combinations on PC. Your budget goes and the time to market goes. So your marketing goes up, your marketing spend goes up, and you know what that does to your margins? It threatens your margins. It's not that simple. Like, everybody wants to make it super simplistic. If you put games everywhere, you'd make more money. No, that's not a guarantee. That lacks any shred of business analysis. You're just saying that as if, like, it's just a truth. But it's not. You could quite literally lose money going multiplat. You could. You could lose money because of the cost that it takes to do it. The time that it takes to bring it to market. AOZ says you can release a game for one platform, and if it's successful, port it to PC, otherwise save money. That's exactly right. Like, businesses are risk averse. They're risk averse. They're going to go where there's less risk. If your margin is 50%, says Zubair, and it costs twice as much to go multi-platform, you're back to square one. Right. It's not Hogwarts smoked Spider-Mid. You have to understand that what you just said is just absolutely ridiculous. You understand that the fact that Spider-Man being in the top 5 as a single platform game, it's not even a cross-generational game. The fact that Spider-Man 2 sat where it sat, Hogwarts was on every system, and it was cross-generationally supported. It wasn't just on PS5 and Series X and S. It was also on the old Xbox. It was also on the PS4. It also hit the Nintendo Switch. The fact that Spider-Man 2 was up there even in contention with some of those games last year speaks volumes to the purchasing power of that ecosystem. Those people buy games. The attach rate of Spider-Man 2 is bonkers. Tell me again, Doc Dark, I love you. Tell me again that exclusives are not why people buy a PlayStation 5 when the attach rate of Spider-Man 2 was like a 20% or something. Like, come on. What are we even talking about here? What are we even talking about? A multi-plat Harry Potter game, a cross-generational multi-plat Harry Potter game outsold Spider-Man 2. You need to look at what Spider-Man 2 did as a single platform release and realize you're sounding silly, my friend. You're sounding silly. That game crushed. Spider-Man is God. You got to admit it. He's the biggest. He's the king. I'm not even talking video games. I'm just saying as a character, Spider-Man is the king. He's globally so popular. I told people last year, I said that game's going to sell like crazy. You don't understand the power of Peter Parker if you think that game's going to struggle to sell. PlayStation also bundled it with PS5. And your point? And why do you think they did that? They bundled it. So? I mean, Hogwarts was on every platform. They could have put Hogwarts on a cell phone, for Pete's sakes, by the time they were done. Good to see you come over to Reforge Gaming, the Mean Joe Green. We're streaming on Rundown to try to get into that mobile funnel. We'll see if we can meet some more people that way. Hogwarts on 6 platforms. Spider-Man's on 1 platform. Come on. Yeah, it wasn't a free bundle. Oh, yeah, and bundled sales don't count in the charts, by the way. People always try to use that, and it's not. It's not. The sales charts don't include that. Come on. Exclusivity is what's keeping gaming alive. People need to understand this. Yeah, exactly, the Mean Joe Green. You had to pay extra for the bundle anyway. Like, it wasn't like they just tossed the game in for free and were like, that counts! Like... When does the stream start? Well, it's 11 o'clock Eastern right now. And in 3.5 hours, we're going to go live. That'll be at 2:30. That'll be 30 minutes before. We are going to co-stream it. If you're watching right now, smash that like button. Get us to 400 likes. Hit subscribe and the bell button. We're talking predictions today. Sarah Bond says every screen is an Xbox. Yo, Feed, I see you in the chat. Good to see you, Feed. 3.5 hours of this. We'll go to members eventually. Don't worry. Don't worry, Zubair. I love how realistic you are about the gaming market and not biased because you like a platform over another. Yeah, I definitely have my preferences, but like I think it's not hard to look at the facts of what's going on in the market and seeing where things are going. People thought they had smoking guns yesterday. Like, oh, look at this. PlayStation's going to put games on PC. Yeah. They said that a couple of years ago. What? Yeah. I'm sorry. I know people really thought they had something yesterday. I don't like to burst their bubble. They really thought they had it. We got it. We got a zinger here. And then you see the screenshots and you're like, oh, they list the platforms right here. Yo, Joker Quinn with a gifted member taking us to 18 members on the day. Let's hit that 25 members, y'all. I'll give 5 immediately. Let's go. 5 coming in from Terminal Stupidity. He knew I was going to ask for it, and he takes us up to 23 out of 25. The podcast Eastern time, Brandon, is 3 p.m. Eastern. You can watch it over on my main streaming channel, which is Reforge Gaming. Currently, you're watching me on Reforge Rundown, which is the channel where I put my monologues, my uploads mainly, and we're streaming over there in this mobile version. Question for you. Anybody watching on Reforge Rundown right now, there's only a handful of you. We don't really stream on this channel. Did you find me in the shorts feed? Were you like swiping through the shorts feed? We're trying to figure out if we're doing this in the correct way. Chloe with a 6 spot. Hey, Reforge, I just came on the stream. Why? Any prediction on the podcast today? My predictions, I outlined Game Pass hardware first party. Game Pass, I don't think they make any significant announcements about Game Pass. People are like, oh, they're going to do less day and date, or they're going to get rid of day and date. Listen, y'all, if they're doing that, I think they do that quietly. I think they just start putting less games over there. Oh, the Mean Joe Green, you found me in shorts? Okay, thank you for letting me know that. I don't think they say anything about it. Right? I don't think they say anything about it. I don't think they're going to be like, yeah, we're going to do less day and date, or we're not doing day and date anymore. Right? Po Buddy's Nerfit gifts a member, putting us 1 away from 25, and then I'll gift the 5. That'll be 30. That'll get us really... I'll give you guys a member update in a moment to see how close we are to the goal of 3,000. If you get a gifted membership, man, get in our Discord. We have a great community here. Isn't this Reforge Gaming? Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm probably confusing people. There are 1,200 people right now watching on Reforge Gaming. I am also streaming vertically like a mobile stream over on Reforge Rundown. So to the people that are watching me vertically on Reforge Rundown, you can watch a full screen stream over on Reforge Gaming. We're trying something out. They're enabling people to do vertical streams, and we're seeing how it goes. I feel like we're just waiting on a bunch of PR bull today. Okay, so back to what I was going to say. I was answering Chloe, giving you guys a bit of a recap on my predictions. Yo, Lotus Esprit with the 50 bomb super chat says, thank you for the unbiased information. I greatly appreciate it. As I've said, the fact that people come here for coverage is a huge honor. We are... I'm not, this isn't false humility. We are not a very big channel on YouTube. We just aren't. Yet. And you guys really pile in here, and it's really exciting and really fun. So, anyways. So, I don't know how much they're going to focus on Game Pass. And here's why. I think the division of labor has already been set. And this is coming from the internal meeting that they had. Oh, I've not been running the scene switcher. We like to change the scene every once in a while, you know, give you guys a little bit of variety here, right? So, the nature of what they've already done, I think, is what we will see today. So, they speak internally, and what's Phil Spencer speak to? He speaks to hardware. What's Sarah Bond speak to? Well, she's the new head, and I believe the new face of Xbox. She says every screen is an Xbox. So she's talking about the future vision of Xbox as a brand, and Phil's talking hardware. Well, that leaves Matt Booty. And I think Matt Booty's going to talk about the games, first-party games, because he's over Bethesda. So he's going to cast the vision for what they want to do with the property that they own. That's the division of labor on the podcast. So I don't think Game Pass gets a huge focal. I don't think they're going to be like, we're changing it, we're updating it, we're revamping it. I feel like they would do that later. I feel like they would do that quietly, right? That's just my personal opinion on it. Maybe they do. Maybe they heavily focus on Game Pass today, but I don't feel like that's the focal point, okay? Because if they're going to do less day and date, or they're going to get rid of day and date, again, I feel like they would just quietly do that. I think one of the first games that's going to be multi-plat when it comes out, and I don't think it's going to hit Game Pass day and date, one of the first games they're going to do that with, I think, is Blade. Maybe even before that, I don't know. Blade's pretty far out, but I think Blade is definitely... I don't think it's the day and date Game Pass game, and I think it's multi-plat. 8 months of membership from Algarian, 17 months from Po Buddies Nervic with the VIP. This is my favorite place to find out what's going on in the gaming world, and it has the best community, minus Zubair, that is. And then Big Lido says, I can't believe it's almost been a year since I discovered this amazing channel. Thank you for 11 months, Big Lido. And then Po Buddies Nervic, thank you so much for... I'm sorry. Po Buddies Nervic gifted a member and got us a 25. I now owe you guys 5 members. Now, it's telling me over there on Rundown that we're not giving enough bandwidth, so we might be dropping frames over there. I'm not actually sure. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like we might be dropping pretty consistent frames. I'm streaming on a different... That's my other internet provider, so Spectrum might be acting up, or my wife could be updating her phone or something. So, I now owe you guys 5 members. Let me gift you those members, and I'll update you guys on the total member count. So, back to my prediction. Sorry, I keep interrupting my own train of thought. So, I don't think they're going to say a whole lot about Game Pass, but I do think they're going to talk about hardware. And it might be super generic, okay? It might be super generic. But I feel like we're going to get similar verbiage that Phil Spencer said to the employees internally. I think he's going to say, we are committed to continue making hardware across a variety of devices. Algarian is the Agents of Chaos. Thank you so much. Taking us past 25. And now we're at 26 out of 50. So I gifted 5. I'll have to give 5 more if we hit 50. I'll give you guys a member update. Darren says, Hogwarts, COD, and Madden were the top 3 sold games in 2023. Multi-platform games sell more. I think Zelda was in the number 2 spot, so no. And secondly, saying multi-platform games sell more isn't really proving anything. You're just saying that really, really popular franchises that are on every platform sell more copies. It's like, yeah. Doesn't make... okay. Yeah. It's not a... you know? So, on the hardware's front, that's what I think Phil's going to do. I think Phil's going to speak kind of generically. Yeah, guys, we're still in the same spot, so we must have gained a little, lost a little. So, yeah, if we get this to 100, we should be good. We should be good for the Friday night stream. But that's what I think he says about hardware. It's going to be super generic. It's going to be like, you know, this idea of we're committed to hardware, you know, and we're not just committed to hardware. We are... I'm going to try and end the stream and start a new one over here on Rundown. Not here, not on Reforge Gaming. I'm going to keep streaming, but Reforge Rundown's having a bit of a problem. So I'm going to try and stop and restart it over there. More copies, more exposure, more hype. Yeah. I think when Matt Booty discusses... I think when he discusses their efforts with like their games, like their first party property, I think it's going to be, again, you know, potentially pretty generic stuff. I think it's going to be, he's going to like, you know, kind of coattail right off of Sarah Bond, and he's going to say something to the effect of like, yeah, you know, we're in a unique position now to put more games in more places. Now more than ever before. And we just think the future of Xbox is best where everybody gets to play the games that we have. I think they're going to drive that message forward. If I'm Xbox, I know I can't out-console Sony, but what can they do? They can suddenly make it seem like exclusivity is the devil. And you're gatekeeping, and you're keeping people out of games. They can certainly make it seem that way. Like, they can just sort of quietly say that we think it's better for everybody if games are everywhere. Now, they've been saying that for a while, but they were still doing exclusives. The Xbox On interview that they did, Phil Spencer said, you know, exclusives are marketing beats. it's, you know, he talked about how it's like a necessity in the market. But Satya Nadella was like, you know, if I had it my way, we wouldn't do exclusives. Well, I think he's getting his way. Fuzzy says the only smoking gun is when they misquote people. Yeah, when your smoking gun is basically a typo, an intentional typo, an intentional misquote, you know, outlets can keep sacrificing their integrity, right? IGN got community noted for directly misquoting Sony. And do you want to know what they did? They just tweeted the exact same dadgum thing again, and now it's got even more views. They're literally getting community noted, and then they do it again because if you get community noted, you don't get monetized on that tweet. So they got, like, I guess, like, butthurt that they got community noted, so they just posted the same dadgum misquote. Like, I really hope it gets, it should get community noted again. Like, where's the ethics in reporting here? You know, where's the ethics? Where are the standards? You know, what's going on? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And to do it again, it's like they didn't do it once and say, well, oops-a-daisy, we read a bad paraphrase or something. They just did it again. You had Doc Dark last night on Brap. Great and spirited conversation. Guys, be sure to check that out. We had Doc Dark on last week. Doc's kind of becoming a bit of celebrity in our circles, man. Showing up in Skill Up videos and Asmongold videos and everything else. And all right, I'm going to go ahead and just cut this over here on Rundown. I can't get a consistent connection, so it's likely probably because because of my Spectrum. My Spectrum might be having trouble, so I'm not going to continue to stream and have problems. That's how journalists show their defiance. Right. I saw that. IGN has lost their minds, and this was the third time they've done this in recent memory. Please see my question above. I want your take. All right, let me see what you had to say, Zubair. Lono, you think Xbox sold the value of this acquisition to Microsoft in a way that wasn't completely accurate or honest, whether by design or negligence? Is that why Microsoft seems to be imposing itself more on Xbox? I mean, I have my own theory about that, Zubair, that Starfield was sort of the end of the discussion. You know, if Phil Spencer goes to them and says, listen, this is our pathway, right? This is how we do this. We're going to buy this game. We're going to go exclusive. We're going to really start to win back some ground. You know, but here's my problem with the theory, okay? Every time I run this theory through my mind, the first thing that comes up is the Kind of Funny interview, where Phil's like, we lost the worst generation to lose when everyone was building their digital libraries. We are not going to out-console Sony. And he says, Activision Blizzard is not our strategy. It's an accelerant to our strategy. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, if he says that, and then in the wake of them getting Activision Blizzard, the first things we hear are from Phil Spencer tells Famitsu that PlayStation and Nintendo are part of the Xbox community. The CFO says, you're going to see a bit of a change of strategy. We're going to start putting our first-party property on platforms we previously considered competitors. He's basically telling you, we don't even consider them competitors anymore. We see them as places to put our property. And then the CEO, Satya Nadella, is asked a question about the future and the health of Xbox. And he says, we can now do what we always set out to do, make great games and put them on all platforms. So it's really difficult for me to get that theory any traction. I'm like, well, maybe Phil was like, hey, let us try this, and then Starfield didn't move the hardware needle, so Microsoft's like, enough is enough. We're going with the publishing route. I have a hard time getting traction with that theory because it's like Phil basically walked out and was like, this is not, we have to go do something completely different. This is just Xbox not meeting its deliverables and the results thereof. It's possible that they gave him one last go at this. They were like, all right, Phil, if Starfield's your Hail Mary, it's a Hail Mary if we've ever seen one. Like, think about it like this. Apply the logic that we have been applying, that Microsoft is saying, you have really valuable property now. Sell it everywhere. Okay? Why didn't they say that with Starfield? And a 20 bomb from Skatinator. What a massive jump all the way to 46 out of 50. This man brings the positivity, and now he's bringing the support with the members. If you guys get a gifted membership, say thank you to Skatinator. And that guy Smitty joins, and he picks the right member tier. I love when people do that. Don't pick that $5 gifted. If you're going to pay for your own membership, pick the $6 member tier. You'll get into all the content. If we can get to 3,000 members before Friday, we will do a later Friday night stream, and my wife and I will play Helldivers together. It will be hilarious. You don't want to miss it. There's a tension here. Their behavior shows conflicted goals. Our confusion is reasonable. Right. Back to what I was saying. Let me get back on the train tracks. So the logic we've been applying lately is when you have property that is that valuable, you're going to put it anywhere. So why in the world did they do to Starfield what they did? Starfield is a massive game, massive hype, tons of marketing, tons of PR. Why wouldn't you sell it on PlayStation? I'll tell you why. It was their last Hail Mary with the old playbook. Phil's on the sidelines, you know. He's on the sidelines. He's got his headphones on. He's got his clipboard, and he's like, this is the old playbook. We're going to try this play one last time with Starfield. And they're all watching the ball, and it doesn't make it. And he throws the clipboard up in the air, and he's like, all right, it's time for a new playbook. It didn't work. It didn't move the line. It didn't move the hardware needle, like, at all. Like, that's what it feels like to me. It was like, all right, let's run this play one last time. Let's see if we can shift the rudder even a percentage point. Can we move this at all? No. This is why when I did the podcast last week, and Kirk from What's New Video Games, he was like, well, they were going to put Call of Duty exclusive, but then the FTC beat them up, and then now they're not. And I'm like, I think that's a total misread of it. I don't know if there are probably people that agree with Kirk, and that's fine. There's different ways to view this, but I viewed it completely differently. I was like, absolutely not. No, they never had plans to do that. Call of Duty's too big. They were counting on that revenue. I don't even think if Starfield would have moved the needle a teeny bit, they would have let him. And a 5-bomb comes in from SSJ Gohan, and that's the Agent of Chaos as well, taking us to 52 out of the next goal of 75. The reason we bumped the goal up is because I give 5 every 25, and another 5-bomb comes in from Risic. Risic takes us to 57, making the goal a palindrome. Some of you are going to have to Google what that is. Thank you so much, Risic. If you guys got a gifted member, make sure and say thank you to the person that gifted it to you. And I now owe you guys 5, and I'll give you an update on that count. I seriously think we only need about 100, maybe 125 members. We're somewhere in that ballpark. We'll get us to 3,000. If Starfield was their Hail Mary, I fully question the leadership understanding of what gamers want. A 30 FPS loading screen simulator is not a Hail Mary. So let me get this straight, says Erodimus. When Microsoft says all platforms, it means PlayStation and Nintendo. But Sony multi-platform, they're saying mobile, cloud, PC, and VR. Oh, yeah, let me show you something. Hang on, Erodimus. I love this because it's bad faith. I'm just going to call it bad faith. You know it's bad faith, especially if you've done any bit of research into this. You know what you're saying is ridiculous. You want to see something? Let me show you something. I'm going to show you something. This is your birthday present. And 3, 2, 1. Everybody ready? There it is. There's the more platforms. Can you see that? Is it easy to read? I'm so tired of this insufferable bad faith nonsense. It's so freaking tiring. Xbox didn't say all platforms. The CFO said PlayStation and Nintendo. The CEO Satya Nadella said PlayStation and Nintendo. Oh, and when PlayStation says more platforms, do we got to do this every time and pull up the slides from their segments and from their presentations? Let's just circle them right here. PC and mobile, virtual reality, cloud, metaverse. Look at what's absent from there. Oh, and allow me another retort. Satya Nadella didn't say all platforms. He said all platforms and then went on to specify what he meant. He said Xbox and consoles and mobile and PC and cloud. The constant insistence, the false narrative, the dishonesty, it is more tiring than running laps around my house because I'm out of shape. It is tiring. Just quit. It's so insufferable. Just go read. Right? Like, take LeVar Burton's advice. You don't have to take my word for it. Go read. It's in a book. Take a look. It's in a book. Reading Rainbow. Go read. They outline it so clearly. And the misquoting and the nonsense, it's so insufferable. Because you know what happens? Doing something as simple as this, it gets labeled a pony. Yeah, look at this pony coping. Why? Because you buy into false narrative nonsense from outlets like IGN that get community noted every couple of weeks. Just go frickin' read. I'm sick of it. You waste my time, and you waste everybody else's time with this nonsense. 6 gifteds. Raven gifts 1. Alan gifts 1. I don't have any patience for it anymore. I'm not going to be nice. I'm not going to be nice to dishonesty. It's not deserving of niceties. You want to have difference of opinion? Right? You like a game, you dislike a game, you think this game's a flop, that game's a flop. We can have difference of opinion all day long. You want to peddle falsehood? No. No. I'm sick of it. What cloud platform will Sony be putting their games on? Their own? They leapfrogged Xbox and cloud gaming with features. What are you talking about? They have their own cloud services. They have their own cloud gaming platform. Just stop it. It's ridiculous. The only way this stuff gets traction is because you're going to people that misquote and you misquote. Satya didn't say all platforms and leave it at that. He said all platforms, and then he outlined the platforms. He said Xbox and consoles and PC and mobile and cloud. And then PlayStation says multi-platform. And if you look at the sentence structure, oh my gosh, if you look at the sentence structure, this is just so stupid. He literally says there's more money to be made on PC, so you can maximize profit with multi-platform. Excuse me. He literally says it in that order. And then they have a slide outlining what they mean by multi-platform. Like, this is where we see our games going. You think they have any shred of interest? I got a tickle in my throat now. I gotta take a drink. You think they have any shred of interest of putting their games on Xbox? It doesn't make any sense. There's no business sense behind it. I'm so sorry about the coughing. I took like a bad breath of air and like choked myself. I hate when I do that. Brat with a 10 spot. People need to research. Stop with obfuscation and gaslighting. It drags down the discourse in gaming. The people who do this shouldn't be a part of the gaming conversation. Right, when your gaming outlet gets community noted for misquoting Sony, and then somebody else misquotes Sony, and then you come to my doorstep misquoting Sony, it is so tiring. There's that point in Lost where Benjamin Linus, like, he kills his own dad. It's pretty horrible. It's awful. And he's like, I had to be so patient. And he's like, in this whole time, I had to put up with you. And it's like, that's what we're constantly dealing with here. It's like, we're having conversations. We're talking gaming industry. Yeah, man, this could be a pretty big day. And we got to put up with obfuscation and lies from people. It's like, just quit it. And the reason you're doing it is because you think, yep, I saw this tweet or I saw this article from some other tabloid on the internet that isn't covering games from a journalistic standpoint anymore. There's such a lack of journalistic integrity. It's pathetic. It's embarrassing. They're just a bunch of content creators in disguise. They're just farming ad revenue, brother. A 10 spot from MASH takes us to 73, right on the doorstep of me owing you guys some more members. Thank you so much, MASH. Like, I'm fired up because it's so tiring. It's like no one sees the bigger picture. When IGN tweets that, do you know what they do? It's like, great, thanks, IGN. I can't wait. I can't wait to have to tell people that that's a misquote, and then I'll get called a pony for correcting your misquote. Thank you so much. It's just such a pleasure to share this space with you. It's just exhausting. It's like you foster an environment of tribalism and fighting and hate with your dishonesty. It's so exhausting. It isn't hard to report more accurately than these companies that quite literally cannot copy and paste a sentence. They can't do it. They're like, Herder, it says that they're entering the latter half. Herder, I'm going to put latter stage. They're synonyms. No, they're not. Like, it's just ridiculous. Gifted member from Stone Spire, thank you so much. All these platforms should be on notice. The public's going to get so tired of this. It's just got to be so tiring to be like, oh, here's a tweet with 20 million views. 20 million. It's probably got more now. You are quite literally disrupting the public's opinion on stuff with falsehood. It shouldn't be tolerated. Put them all on notice. All you're doing is expediting your irrelevance. Eventually, people are going to get sick of it. They already are. They already are. You're just digging your own grave at this point. It's like what's the harm in just accurately quoting things, accurately representing things? Why is that so difficult? It isn't difficult. You just copy and paste. One of my favorite things to do in my show open is it pads my monologue. I'm going to be honest with you. It makes my monologue writing go a little bit faster when I can copy and paste and directly quote people. It's not hard. You just take the mouse and you just drag it, and then you hit copy, and then you come over here and you hit paste, right? That's all I have to do. And then I say, well, according to Insider Gaming, Phil Spencer said, and then you just read it. It's really easy. It isn't hard. It takes less effort. That's what's so remarkable. It takes less effort. So here we are. I got blasted by people for it yesterday. I got people coming to my chat doing it today. And then I guarantee you, he's dodging. He's not covering this story. Sony's going third party. Sony's sales are terrible. Sony's in the latter stage already. They're already moving on from PS5. Why? Because of all of this just absolute abhorrent bottom of the barrel reporting that you're getting from gaming outlets and dishonest YouTubers. And all I do is correct it, and I get called a pony. That's all it takes. You just correct it. You're like, no, that's not the correct quote. You're not allowed to misquote people. That's ridiculous. Imagine any other outlet doing that. Like, we'd be like, get the frick out of here. What do you think the tone of the Xbox show is going to be? I think the tone of the Xbox podcast is going to be the future is bright. Right? The future is bright. You know, now more than ever. My issues was more the misleading editorial headline. Yeah, they literally just lie at this point. This isn't some persona on a YouTube channel that's like spinning Xbox news in a positive way. They're literally just lying. Yo, MASH takes it to 75. I owe you guys 5 more. Let me drop that on chat, and then I'll give you guys a total. Good to see you in the chat, by the way, Chris Toast. I don't see your stuff on my Twitter timeline anymore. I don't know what happened. I know you got, I guess you got like what, like mass reported or something? Oh, I just gifted a single member. Oops, that's the wrong thing. Hang on. I clicked the wrong thing. That's supposed to be a 5-bomb. That's a bank error in your favor. You guys are going to get an extra member from me. That was a mistake. I'm not paying attention to what I'm freaking clicking on. Yo, Lotus Esprit with the $100 super chat says, please keep this going and ignore the uneducated haters. Hey, man, I'm not stopping. Like I said, it isn't hard. It's not hard to do a better job than people that just misquote. It isn't difficult. It's extremely easy. I know how to copy and paste. I learned that in like middle school. So I have the tools and the ability to be better. It's not difficult. And a single gifted from MASH. Agent of Chaos takes us to 76. Thank you so much. Let me give you guys a member count. I keep trying to do it, and we keep going higher and higher. 2,925. We are 75 members away from the goal. 75. Oh, you're just taking a Twitter break. You'll be back. Okay, I still see your stuff on the Tickety Talk. I don't really engage that much. I asked a question. What cloud platform will Sony be putting their games on? Yeah, I said their own. They have their own cloud gaming. They have their own cloud gaming. And your original question was, you said, so let me get this straight. When Microsoft says all platforms, it means PlayStation and Nintendo. But Sony multi-platform, they are saying mobile, cloud, PC, and VR. Right. So you can assert things in a question. Okay? To pretend that you can't assert something in the form of a question is disingenuous. You know that you did. You asserted falsehood. Satya didn't say all platforms, and then we're like, well, that means this. He said all platforms, and then he listed them. And then when PlayStation said multi-platform, they listed them. They're completely separate. When it's factual based, instead of what you did, which is, it's just dishonest. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. That's just dishonest. It's not an honest account of what has been said. It's a question that asserts falsehood, right? It would be like me saying, so when Phil Spencer says, we're not making any more consoles, you guys actually think they're going to make more consoles? And then being like, I just asked a question. Well, I'm asking a question that is positing and asserting a falsehood. That's not true. My question is bad. It's a bad faith question. It's not seeking a true answer. It's attempting to assert something that's not true. And listen, people don't catch it, and they'll just answer your question, and they'll passively assert what you claimed. Dude, I didn't just fall off the turnip truck, man. I don't fall for that nonsense. The minute I see a question like that, I know exactly what you're doing. Get out of here with these tactics of asking a question that asserts something that isn't true. This isn't my first rodeo, bro. I've been doing online debating for like 8 years. You're going to slip that one past the goalie, and I'm like, whoop! I didn't catch the assertion in the question. Silly me. Come on, bro. If you want to ask questions and have dialogue, do it. The reason I gut check you so hard, Erodimus, is I like you coming in and debating me. What I don't like you doing is coming in and putting falsehood into the dialogue. It's just tiring. It's exhausting to constantly have to go back and like revisit it. 5 spot from MASH. Thanks, Lono. Love Kirk, Ginger 30, and Doc. Thank you so much, MASH. Like, this is what it feels like. Let me just take you to Lono's mind, all right? The stream is like a train. It gets going, you know? Starts out starts out kind of slow and kind of like I do my monologue, and then it gets up to speed. It's moving, and people are commenting, and we're going back and forth, and you're saying something, I'm saying something, and then all of a sudden somebody's like, they just pulled that emergency brake, and we're like, everybody, hold on. We're like, what? That guy just said something that's not true. All right, everybody stop. All right, Lono has to get off of the train and go over here and piddle around in the mud, correcting something that isn't true, so we can all get back on the train and have the discussion. That's why it's frustrating. It's like we just have to stop and be like, all right, you came in here with something that isn't true, and if I don't address it, it looks like I'm ignoring you or I'm dodging a question. So we got to do this thing. I think when you quote Satya, he makes a statement across all platforms. The very next statement, he talks about AI, their development statement, and mobile and cloud and PC. And once again, you are being dishonest. That is not true. That is false. You are lying. No patience for it. Done. I'm calling it what it is. You're lying, Erotimus. That is not what he said. That is not the structure of his statement. You have removed an entire sentence, and you are now done for the day. You're done for the day. Because I'm not doing this. This conversation can't keep doing this. It's not fair to the 1,200 people here to keep getting one guide with your lying. He said what he said about all platforms, and then he said Xbox and consoles and PC and mobile. And then he finished the entire statement and he talked about the AI stuff. So take your lying, take your dishonesty, and take the day off. Go see if you can write for IGN. You sound like you're equipped to write their headlines. All right, let's get back on topic. I don't like getting one guide, but it's like somebody comes in with a badge, somebody who's around here all the time, and if you say something like that, it's like, if I don't address it, it looks like, yo, he's dodging, he won't address the question. It's like, come on, bro. Come on. Do you guys... Lono doesn't like getting one guide. Pause. Do you guys think... Ignore Erotimus. He's just discussing talking points he hears on this podcast and other Xbox-centric podcasts. Yeah. Do you guys think I have the division of labor correct? Do you think, like, the reason they're having three people is, like, Phil's going to talk hardware and Sarah's talking Xbox. Sarah Bond's going to be like Xbox, every screen's an Xbox, and then Matt Booty's going to talk about first-party property. Do you think that's a correct prediction, like, or like not, maybe not a correct prediction? Do you think that's a potential prediction of how this is going to go? Series X at $350 this Christmas beat any competing PC. For those specs at the price, it's unbeatable. Right, but here's the problem with that, Caleb. What games are you playing on Series X that justifies getting that? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, I get what you're saying. You're saying beating any competing PC. Well, yeah, obviously, if you want a PC that's at the processing power of a Series X, you're going to have to spend around $1,000. Now, I know these guys are going to fact check me, and they're going to be like, well, if you go to eBay and if you wait for a sale, but around $1,000. Like, these PC guys lose their minds every time I talk about this. It's like, settle down. No one's insulting your PC, okay? Go snuggle with your anime body pillow and it'll be okay. The Series X at $350, you got to spend around $1,000 or more. on average, the average consumer is looking at probably about a $1,500 because they're going to go pre-built on Amazon or Best Buy or something. So you're correct. Like a Series X at that price seems like, wow, what an amazing price. My question is like, well, what are you going to play on it though? Like, what are you going to play on it? It's not being utilized. That's my frustration with my Series X. What are you going to do? What am I going to do with it? What high-end game am I going to play on it? I mean, you can keep touting Forza Horizon, but Starfield doesn't look that great, and it's 30 FPS. And Forza Motorsport got obliterated by the user reviews. You can pad your Metacritic all you want. I don't care. That game scored terribly. And it didn't look that good at all. The comparisons are very noticeable. It's like, this isn't even... There are older car games that look better than Forza Motorsport. What are you going to play on it? Like, you're not wrong. It's an amazing deal. It's like, yeah, dude, $350. Yeah, Pentiment. Yeah, Pow World. Like, all these guys get so hung up on first party, and they're like, yeah, well, PlayStation doesn't have any first party games this year. Well, your biggest celebration is a third party demo, like a third party early access game. Like, come on, what are we even doing here? Quadruple A games. Yeah. Sea of Thieves is a quadruple A game. The CFO said platforms we once considered competitors. The CFO listed PlayStation and Nintendo. Satya listed PlayStation and Nintendo in an interview. Again, that discussion is just rooted. It is drenched from head to toe in dishonesty. They have to change the quotes or just flat out ignore quotes. Satya did a separate interview where he said the phrasing was almost identical. Now with Activision Blizzard, we feel like we can be a great publisher on PlayStation and Nintendo. And again, people are like, well, they already are. No, he's vision casting. He's talking to investors, man. So is the CFO. Yeah, Brotato. Hey, Brotato's awesome, and you should all play it, okay? There are some great games on Game Pass. I was talking about the Series X and the power and that whole narrative. That's what I was talking about. It's great that the Series X is so affordable. And again, when you compare it to a comparable PC gaming rig that you could buy from like Best Buy or Amazon, the price difference is fantastic. But I'm here to tell you that the average consumer, number one, is not going to buy the PC because it's so expensive. They're not interested. And the person who buys the Series X isn't getting the next gen up to 120, standard output 60, 4K, this and that, and the third ray tracing, next gen tour de force. We didn't get that. That dream is gone. Brotato, the streamer, made a game. No, there's just a game called Brotato. It's in the vein of Vampire Survivors. I actually think I played Brotato before I played Vampire Survivors. I don't think it came out before. I just think that's the order that I played in. And Brotato is really fun. You should definitely check it out. Anybody who's enjoyed time with Vampire Survivors, you should check out Brotato. It's on Steam. It's very inexpensive on Steam. It is on Game Pass. It took you 35 hours to get all the achievements. Man, that's a great amount of time out of a game like that. Brotato is quite literally $4 on Steam. I'm sorry, it's $3.74 on Steam. So please support that game. It's an awesome little game. There's also another amazing game on Game Pass, if it's still there. RoboQuest. If you like rogues, if you like Borderlands, they kind of smash those two games into a really, really fun rogue, and you can play it co-op. And William, thank you so much for gifting a member. William takes us to 77 members on the day. We are about 75 members away from the goal of 3,000. Thank you guys so much for getting us closer every time you do that. Cover art kind of looks like Binding of Isaac. Teeny bit. Yeah, teeny bit. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've not... Did we not add... Oh, no, we did. Yeah, RoboQuest is really, really fun. RoboQuest is one of those games I wish I had more time for, and it also makes me wish I had a second Xbox, because I feel like my wife and I would have played that, and it would have been fun. Can you answer my last question, says Sneaky Wolf? Let me look here. What'd you say? What's the difference between ladder half and ladder stage? Genuinely asking. Okay. It's a good question. And a lot of people don't realize why it's so significant that they get this quote right. Okay. Ladder half means we're entering the second half. Okay. Which makes sense. We are halfway through. We're entering the latter half next fiscal year is what they said. So once we leave 2024, we're entering the latter half, the second half. If you look up the definition of latter stage, it means the final stage, like it's nearing its end. That's what it conveys. So they're quite literally creating a complete false sense of what was communicated. I literally saw a guy say, I wonder if this means we're not going to get a PS5 Pro. Do you understand what they're doing? They are sowing fear and confusion because they are liars. They're lying to the public. They're trying to shake consumer confidence in the PlayStation 5. That's what they're doing. Why else would you do it? You want people to think, oh my gosh, I was just getting ready to get one and it's entering the latter stages? And then you see a prominent outlet say, a prominent editor for an outlet say, I wonder if this means we won't get a PS5 Pro. I wonder if your inability to copy and paste a quote is a sign that you lack integrity and honesty. That's what I think. That's what I'm wondering about. You are quite literally misleading the public, and there should be consequences for that. I'm very passionate about this for personal reasons, but also because it quite literally affects what we try to do every day as a community. We try to just talk about what's going on in an accurate way. And you got guys out here that are just flat out, no conscience apparently, they're just gonna lie to the public. Oh, latter half. Yeah. We're entering the second half. I got an idea. Let's say latter stages and sow fear into the public's mind about the fact that, yeah, we might not even see a PS5 Pro. Liar. You're a liar. Malicious or bad at their jobs? No, the pattern is too consistent. They are liars. When someone makes a mistake and then corrects that mistake, you say, "Oh, it's a human being." Human beings make mistakes, right? Do you remember when I misspoke and I flipped my words around and I said that Halo wasn't a first-party title? What I meant to say was Halo Infinite is not a next-gen title. I flubbed my words up. Do you know what I didn't do? I didn't dig my heels in and just leave it. Oh yeah, it's not a first-party title. No, I was like, yeah, I just made a mistake. I misspoke. But what do? Oh, they just dig in. They just do it again. They quite literally reposted the same claim, and now that tweet's got even more views. Because what are they doing? They're capitalizing on misinformation and emotionally manipulating the public. It's just absolutely reprehensible. It's disgusting. It's gross. They lie, get community noted. They lie again, knowing that everyone's going to run to the tweet and be like, are you kidding me? You guys already did this once. Blah, 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 blah. And what's it do? It drives up the impressions. And if it doesn't get community noted, they've got millions of views on the tweet. They're making money with lies. Call it what it is. You people call me a grifter. That's quite literally grifting. You're a con man. You're lying to the public and making money on the lies. There is not an excuse for it. There isn't. So Reuters is lying? I'm not, brother, anybody who is putting in quotations latter stages, they are lying. That is not what was stated. It is latter half. They're using a completely different term. They're not the same. I don't care who it is. So Reuters is lying? What, you think that'd be the first time a news outlet got something wrong? Like, come on, man. Latter stages paired with failure to meet sales targets conveys the idea that the PS5 is dying and Sony is moving on, compared to latter half and adjusted sales expectations. Right. One is just an accurate recounting of what has been said. It's just, this is what was said. They're supposed to just give you the news. That's what they're supposed to do. Here's what happened, public. Here's what happened. They're not supposed to say, well, let's put this through the FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Let's put it through this and spit it out so we can drive the click rate up. Get out of here. This feels like semantics. It's not semantics. There's a massive difference between the two. Yo, Insomniac Black, what's good, dude? Man said, take a look. It's in a book, Reading Rainbow. Such a shame there are so many kids who don't even know what that is. Maybe a direct correlation to reading comprehension issues. Thank you for 29 months, Insomniac Black. If it's not semantics. You know why it's not semantics? You can't just misquote somebody and say, it's just semantics. They walked out and said, latter half. And then outlets are putting in quotations a completely different statement. That is lying. You are lying. You can't just wave your hand and say that's semantics. Your standard for journalistic integrity and honesty is in the toilet if you think you can just misquote somebody and say, it's just semantics. What? You're going to justify misquoting people and be like, it's just semantics. It's not a big deal. Not to mention when the editor is going to jump on the story and say, I wonder if we don't see a PS5 Pro. They know what they are doing. They are sowing fear and doubt. It's a form of manipulation. It's not reporting the news. Oh my gosh, you have to see this for what this is. It's so important to the future of what we do here and what the gaming community does. Hold these people accountable. We were all about accountability 4 years ago. Where's the accountability now? These guys just flat out lie to the public. Connor with a 24 spot. Forever Skies picked up by PS5 in June. That's a VR game, isn't it? The podcast is in 3 hours. We're going to go live in 2.5 hours with a separate stream about it. We're going to co-stream it. Masky the Gamer, thank you so much for the VIP gold. Sarah Bond says, every screen is an Xbox. And what are we doing? We're reading false headlines from IGN and The Gamer and whoever else. Like that. Don't you see? Don't you see what's happening? It's all part of what I tried to stress this last year. Don't you see what they're doing? It's all part of the plan, dude. They're trying to distract from the real story. They did this all last year. And now they're going to run to you and they're going to say, well, they've been saying this. The CFO said this last November. Did you report on it? Did you cover it? Did you? Or did everybody celebrate the fact that Phil Spencer said, we have no plans to put Game Pass on PlayStation and Nintendo? Which happened there? CFO says, we're going to start putting first-party property on platforms that were previously considered competitors. PlayStation and Nintendo. He says that. Virtually no coverage, and then what do we get? Oh, Phil Spencer said, we have no plans to put Game Pass on PlayStation and Nintendo. All is well. And now, look at the rumors mount up, the insider information mounts up, and Sarah Bond says every screen is an Xbox, and what do we hear? Well, PlayStation's entering the latter stage. We might not get a PS5 Pro. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's laughable at this point. Anybody paying attention, you've got to see how laughable it is. It's like you're literally on the cusp of this major event, this major turning point for Xbox. What are you doing? You're lying to the public about PlayStation. Bro, take the glasses off and just look with eyes wide open. They've been doing this for years. For years they've been doing this. You can't... It's so hard. It's so difficult for people to see it because you're down in there and you're like, well, why would all these people do? Why would they mislead us? Why would they do this? Because there's money to be made. There's money to be made. I went to a channel to do some research because I was like, I wonder if he covered the CFO thing. And you know what I found? Sony is in disarray. Huh? What? What? Here's the biggest games coming to Xbox. What? What? The CFO says that they're not considered competitors anymore and they're going to start putting first-party property over there, and that's what you're doing? And I get called a pony. Why? That's why. Because the public dialogue gets set by bad actors. It gets set by bad actors. Jim Ryan was fired. PlayStation is failing. Come on, dude. Dark Taco with a gifted member. Thank you so much. The pen is not blue. I'm not arguing with the donkey about the color of the sky. I'm calling the donkey a donkey. There's a difference. Don't waste your time arguing with a donkey about the color of the sky. But sometimes you gotta call a jackass a jackass. I'm not down there in the muck and the mire. I'm just pointing out the facts. Hey, you got community noted. That's false. Oh, you did it again. You're just lying to the public. What's going on here? That's me saying, hey, look, this is a donkey. We got a donkey over here saying the sky is green. Don't waste time with this donkey over here. There's a giant difference between the two things. YouTube Lurker with the $5 Super Chat tip. IGN is lying for Microsoft. Xbox is about to have a bad day, and IGN is deflecting the heat for Xbox. They're being paid to provide cover for Xbox. I don't know how anybody cannot entertain that. I'm not saying that's what's going on, but it's really hard not to entertain that, to be like, come on, what are y'all doing here? Like, look at the traction of tweets like that. Look at the reach of a tweet like that, bro. It's unbelievable. I don't even know where it is in their feed now. What's it to? It needs to be community noted. It's a lie. They tweet so much. I replied to it. I could probably just find it quicker by going to my own dadgum replies at this point. But now I've got the sunk cost of scroll. I've scrolled down far enough. I'm like, it'll be here. It'll be here eventually. It's somewhere down here. I know it. I know I saw it. I'm going to my replies. I give up. I give up. By the way, if you're not following Sean Murray, yeah, their tweet has 21 million views, and it is a lie. This is not true. After sales of the PlayStation 5 failed to meet expectations, Sony has said the console is entering the latter stage of its life cycle. No, that's not true. This is false. It's not. You are literally directly attributing a quote to Sony that they did not say. They did not say that. And then your image, the latter stage of its life cycle. Nope. They said latter half. Those are two different statements. The one that's noted has an additional 18 million. Right. Can you tell me the source of that image? Yeah, the GNS segment. What are you talking about? It's from their presentation. Sean Murray Colt is a legit following. Dude walks on water. Was the interview in English or Japanese? I've read the transcript. It says latter half. Like latter stage is not. They're completely different terms. Latter half is factual. They're entering the latter half, the second half. Latter stage means final stage. It's just not true. They literally didn't say that. They didn't even outline that. They were talking about, when we go into the next fiscal year, we'll be entering the latter half. We'll be entering the second half. Can we take a step back? How many stages are there? But it's not about that. It's a misquote. And if you look up latter stage meaning, okay, it can refer to a later time near the end. If someone is in the latter stages of a disease, the disease is about to run its course and the person's going to die. When you say latter half, you're saying quite literally the second half. Oh, you were kidding. I was like, come on. I wasn't sure. I was 2 when the Xbox came out. It was basically the father I never had. I'm telling you, man, I told you a long time ago, Brooklyn and others, I said, man, people are just too fully integrated. They've too fully integrated into these ecosystems. It's like it's their identity. It's part of their personhood. How do people not understand the definition of half versus stage? They aren't interchangeable words. The second stage was the last stage. Latter half of life is the 40s. Latter stages of life's 80s and 90s. Right. It's not like you want to get caught up in trying to claim that it's synonymous. And yeah, someone in chat saying I'm being nitpicky. They're misquoting. That's not being nitpicky. Imagine somebody interviewing you and just changing the words that you said. And they're like, well, you're being a little nitpicky. We thought it would be better if you said this. It'll drive more clicks. You'd be like, but I didn't say that. I didn't say that. You would like justifiably be upset. You'd be like, well, what? What do you mean you changed what I said? What was the quote in Japanese? I don't know. The guy doing the translation. That's what he said. It's so dumb. Everywhere I looked, that was the official statement. Latter half. I couldn't find anything official that said latter stage. The only people saying latter stage are these people that are getting community noted. Six Months from Locke says, think of it in video game terms. The latter half of Super Mario Brothers starts at World 5. The latter stage is World 8. Right. It's extremely, like, to any sensible person, it's so easy to see. It's like, it's not a quote. People need to know where latter stages comes from. I mean, I just read a definition that talked about, the latter stages of a disease, latter stages of life. Like, you're talking about the end. They were not. Listen, context is always king. If you go to the spot where it was stated, they were not talking about the final stages. They were talking about the second half. They're talking about this is what they're forecasting. Like, this is going to be the latter half. If they were talking about latter stages, do you want to know what they would be talking about? They would be talking about the next console. They didn't do that because that's not what they were talking about. I'm talking about the person who originally put it out. They are running with a misinterpretation by a guy who has consistently ran false and negative narratives against Sony. Right. The source of the misquote, he's a joke and a liar, says Eugene. Yeah, if they're quoting him, then that's their own fault. They should have gone to the source. It's their own fault. It's their own fault. You go to the source. I just saw this person's thumbnail saying latter stages. Thinks it's for clicks or he doesn't know. Listen. If you're going to cover something like this, and you go to IGN, and IGN has it in quotes, okay? Typically, I like to go to a couple of sources. The challenge with this is that multiple sources are misquoting it, so you have to go to, like, the original document. And that's the challenge, is for something like this, it breaks in the morning for Americans. Like, I'm asleep when it breaks. We all wake up. And what do most people see? They see the headlines. They see the posts. What does a very prolific and regular content creator do? What do you think he's going to do? I'm not defending him, by the way. He mocked my content and called it low effort. But I am going to defend him and say, in that like he's just making content, he's going to grab those articles and he's going to make a video. So it's really difficult to fault him, and it's like you're trusting outlets to just it'd be one thing if he ran with their headlines, but like if they're falsely quoting, it's like, how can you fault the guy? It's like, well, these outlets said they were quoting Sony. And they're not. They're quoting some other guy who has a habit of not being honest. 2-spot from MASH says ladder. And Edward with a 2-spot says the only reputable news source I trust is Lono. Well, I appreciate that. Imagine trusting Lono. Do you have an instance where I lied? Do you have a single instance where I have been dishonest or lied to the public? Where and when? People always do this. All you ever do is bash Xbox. I'm like, do you have a clip? Do you have a source for that? When did I do that? MASH comes in with a 20 bomb. The man himself. He's been so generous to the community. He puts us on the doorstep of 100 members on the day. Unbelievable. Who's the guy known for not being honest? I don't even know his name. Lono, you lied that you didn't eat ketchup on steak, and we have proof. I never did up to that point in my entire life. You guys made me do it. Lono's probably one of two people I trust in anything gaming news. He always states facts, and if he's wrong, he's the first to admit it, which is rare. I love admitting when I'm wrong. It's easier to admit that you're wrong. Gifted member from Stonespire puts us on the doorstep at 99. It's way easier to admit you're wrong. When you say, I was right about something, everybody thinks you're full of yourself. Everybody thinks you're arrogant. Now, obviously, you don't want to have every week having a video on your channel being like, I was wrong. People are like, well, this guy apparently doesn't know what the heck he's talking about. Every thumbnail says he's wrong, right? Zach Johnson takes us to 100 members on the day. And I now owe you guys 5 more members, and then I'll give you guys a total on the day. Massive day here at Reforge Gaming, and Cat comes in as the agent of chaos and bumps us past 100. Appreciate you so much, Cat. That means our next milestone's 125. Every 25, I get 5. That's why we always roll it over. And thank you. And Whiskey Neat misses the Agent of Chaos by 1, but he still bumps the line to 102. Yeah, like the time I said Halo Infinite's not first party. I swap my words all the time. I did it recently. I can't remember what I said. I just completely replaced a word. I just do that. I speak really quickly. It's a problem. We are now at 2957. We are 40 members away. We are 40 members away from the goal of 3,000. Did we get an answer from the guy that said, imagine trusting Lono? Let's see. What? Who are you talking? He said, it's Diablo this, not Diablo this. Stop saying Diablo. Oh, somebody's typing the wrong Diablo. Okay. Well, what about me, though? Make it about me. Lotus! With a $200 super chat tip. Lotus, feel free to bless people with gifteds as well, man. Holy moly. That is so many super chats from you today. Crazy. Massive support. He says, wow, this is shockingly real. Thanks for what you're doing. Listen, I get fired up. I get passionate. One of the things I really enjoy, I love debating. I love having discourse. I absolutely love it. I just don't have tolerance for dishonesty. I just don't. My shortest fuse to getting irritated is dishonesty. I'm immediately upset by it because dishonesty really hurt me 4 years ago. Really hurt me. So it's a pretty big trigger for me when someone's dishonest, especially when they're dishonest in a way that misleads the public. That's especially frustrating. And it's even frustrating now in my present context because it quite literally fosters hate that gets thrown at me. I get hate, I get attacked. Why? Because of dishonesty, because of dishonest people. And it's like, why can't you just be honest? Like, what's so hard about that? It's easier. It's so much easier. Like, the truth sets you free in more ways than one. But in some ways, it sets you free. It's like, why shackle yourself to these weird narratives and these people that will only support you if you toe the party line? Like, what are you doing? Did Sarah Bond say that, or was it reported by an anonymous source? There were multiple anonymous sources that went to Inverse and said that she said every screen is an Xbox. I made sure in my show, Open Kill You, I said this is alleged. This is the 20 bomb from MASH again comes in and takes us to 122. This guy's support of the channel lately has been absolutely insane. He's the new Eknor in these parts, and he's dropping bombs today. Thank you so much, MASH. If you guys get a gifted member, make sure and thank the person that gifted it to you and get in our Discord. This community is amazing. What's the 3250 goal? People wanted me to play non-inverted. If you guys think you can hit 3250 before Friday night, okay, sure. I'll play non-inverted for half. Maybe half. I don't want to play the whole night. I don't want to play the whole night that way. If you guys get to 3250, I'll play non-inverted for, half of the night or something. I hate playing non-inverted. I don't think you guys can hit 3250, by the way. Sony has signed the developer Far From Home to secure Forever Skies as a PlayStation console exclusive. What's Forever Skies? I thought that. Why did I think that was a VR game? I'm not familiar with Forever Skies. Is that a dog fighting game or something? It's a first-person post-apocalyptic survival game. It'll have its debut on PS5 in 2024. Oh, this game has been on Steam for a while. June of last year, 88% on Steam. Oh, this game. I remember this game. Yes. This game. Where you're like surviving like a ruined Earth. So yeah, they just secured this as a console exclusive. It kind of has like it's like post-apocalyptic Subnautica vibes. Looks very cool. A single gifted from Joker Quinn takes us to 123 on the day. Thank you so much, Joker Quinn. New viewer since these Xbox rumors started. Keep it up, says White Mojo Wolf. I watched a few of your Starfield streams before release, and you nailed its issues. I appreciate that. Thank you. I was really looking forward to Starfield, and I really tried to give that game, you know, a fair shot. I really did. I mean, I know people will tell you all I did was bash the game. You guys are 22 members away from the 3,000 goal. 22 members away. So I appreciate that. I really do. Listen, I know there's an entire meta of, you know, clipping and misrepresenting and name calling and all of that. If people want to do that with their day and their time and their platforms, I can't control what they do. I can only control what I do here with you guys. And I feel like we have good conversations. We have a super generous community. And I don't think you can stop that. I don't think you can. If I'm proof of anything, it's that what I said 4 years ago is so true. The mob is stronger than the truth. They can mob up and spin up and get everybody angry and attack somebody like me. But the truth has more endurance than the mob. And the truth always wins out in the end. And that's what we're committed to here. We're committed to that. You get truth. You get accuracy. Zubair with the gift that takes us to 124. And Big Steve takes us to 125. I owe you guys 5. And that makes JC the agent of chaos. Thank you so much, JC. And a 10 bomb comes in from Cat Uncle and takes us to 136. And Kale renews for 20 months. Coffee order in. Great show. And a single gifted comes in from MASH and takes us to 137. Thank you so much. I know you guys 5, and I'm going to do it right now. Yeah, we probably should mention the coffee since we have so many amazing people here supporting the channel. That's another great way to support the channel. If you're a coffee drinker, this is not a sponsor, by the way. This coffee is in my home, and we have a light roast and a dark roast. My wife and kiddos ship this to you. You're supporting a small business when you buy the coffee. And if you've never tried our coffee before, it has balanced acidity, which makes it very drinkable, very smooth. People do it with cold brew, with creamer. They drink it black. Thank you for the Best of Both Worlds bundle order, Kale. If you guys go to the shop here and you click bundles, there is a Best of Both Worlds bundle. There's also the flavor profiles. If you want to see exactly what the profiles of the coffee is, you can click view details and see, you know, the profile, multi-origin, high altitude. Everything's there, responsibly sourced, organic. This is all on our website, reforgeroast.com, or you can use the coffee link in the description below or the coffee command in chat. And Bolton gifts 1 and Darius gifts 1, taking us to 139. Thank you guys so much for the gifted members today and the support. And let's see where that puts us on the climb to 3,000 members. We greatly appreciate the support. We've got just some heavy hitters. We are at 2994. We are 6 members away from the 3,000 goal. This guy says, absolutely, this can't be real. He says, absolutely wild how we went from Xbox has no games to Xbox has too many games, so they're giving a bunch to PlayStation, who now has no games in the space of 2 years. Well, people that are saying PlayStation has no games, the only reason they're able to say that is because they're fixated on first party. They did a state of play where they showed or announced 9 console exclusives, and then they had a 10th console exclusive with its own state of play with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. If you stop fixating on who owns the studio, PlayStation has a very, very strong exclusive showing right now. To ignore that and to fixate on first party is just a goalpost shift to celebrate some victory that you're keeping points in a game that doesn't exist. Yeah, but you don't have any first party. Yeah, your first party studios aren't doing anything this year. Yeah, we got 9 console exclusives announced and a 10th had its own state of play. What are you talking about? What's the issue here? Why are we suddenly fixated on first party and who owns the studio? Exclusives have always been what we fixate on and what matters. Why? Because that's what drives people to a console. That's what drives people to an ecosystem. What do you think helped in the PS4 era? It was exclusivity that drove it. What are we even talking about? It wasn't who owned Call of Duty. It was who had the exclusives. That's what drove it. That's what drove the market in one direction. Fuzzy comes in with a gifted. Adam comes in with a gifted. Rinsler comes in with a gifted. That's 4 gifteds taking us to 142. We got a single gifted train going right now. Thank you guys so much. And a 5-bomb comes in from Mash, the man himself. He can't stop. He just keeps gifting all day long. Helldivers 2 is doing really good right now. Oh, I love where they are with the live service, like pushing out a video. That's it. 3,000 members. You guys did it. You're going to get a Friday night stream. It'll be a little later than normal. Adam's going to be grumpy, but we're going to do it. We're going to play some Helldivers 2 this Friday night. It'll be fun. It'll be a little bit later. I appreciate you guys supporting. That's crazy. Terrible Xbox One launch didn't help. No, for sure, the mean Joe Green, for sure. You know, it's 10 different things, but to suddenly act like exclusives don't matter, what matters is who owns the studio. It's just absolutely ridiculous. It's like, what are we talking about? Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, Rise of the Ronin, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Concord. Like, what are we even talking about? Like, it's a super full year for PlayStation, but it's like, well, they're not in the first party studios and they're not going to have any major franchises get games this year. And it's like, okay. Okay. Yo, what's good, Lobo? Hey, Lono, one of your most loyal Hate Watcher fans, this person is in panic mode due to the Xbox news. I just want to shout him out that it'll be okay. It'll be okay. It'd be funny if read. I don't say the names of my Hate Watchers. Sorry. I'm doing a show, babe. I'm over here trying to do a show. My wife's dropping off lunch. Too many games that just got ultros? Yeah, if you even look at the smaller launches, man. Even if you look at the smaller launches, like, I'm actually kind of glad. It's like, where's too many games? Not only that, for a lot of us, don't forget about The Last of Us 2 Remastered. I'm only 6 hours into that game. I had to put it down because there's so many games coming out. I don't want any major first-party property right now. I can't keep up. I'm glad that it's like, okay, that's fine, but Rise of the Ronin and Helldivers, that's the big thing I want to play now. Because I finally rolled credits on Kill the Justice League with my wife. Sony has no games until 2025. Keep telling yourself that. That just simply isn't true. YouTube is censoring my comments with a $5 super chat tip. Says, Halo 3 on Switch is all I ever wanted. I know I can stream Halo 3 on my phone, but streaming games never works well. Nintendo needs Halo. I don't know if Nintendo needs Halo. I don't know if there's a big audience over there for Halo. Every 1 in 4 people in Japan have a Nintendo Switch. I don't know how popular Halo is. I could be wrong, but I don't know if there's large demand for Halo on Switch. Even like Americans who have a Nintendo Switch. Like if Halo is more popular in the West, which that would be what I think. I could be incorrect in thinking that, but that's what I would think. Is there a large audience for Halo outside of Xbox? I just don't know. It would be tectonic for Halo to land on like PlayStation. What's your most anticipated game this year? Hellblade 2. What's this live all about? We've been outlining and discussing predictions about the podcast. We've been debating a lot of different things. And we will be co-streaming the podcast in 2 hours. I will boot up in a separate stream. And Yeah, the Astrobot might be coming this year. I mean, that's obviously not a major franchise. So, people are trying to use that as like here, we're going to get a game. We're going to get a game. The comment was no major established franchises. And they said like God of War and Spider-Man. Again, when you go to the actual quote and you stop reading misleading headlines and tweets, like the actual quote was major existing franchises like God of War and Spider-Man, which... shocker, we already knew that. If any of the major franchises had a game this year, we would already know about it. Like, I don't know why people were like, yeah, smoking gun, Sony's in trouble. It's like, what? Like, what do you mean? We already knew this. We've seen the slate. We know the dates. If one of their major franchises was launching this year, we would already know. They would have told us. They wouldn't wait and be like, hey guys, major title's coming out in 2 months. They would be marketing it right now. Look at the pattern for the distance between when they announce and start marketing their major franchises. Anybody with a brain knew that none of the major franchises were going to show up this year because they're not saying anything. And I told people, I said, the first party studios and the major games, they're not going to say anything. They're not doing anything this year. It's so obvious. You can look at it and tell. They don't need to. They don't need to. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered sold well. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to sell well. Helldivers is crushing it right now. And then Stellar Blade's probably going to be huge in more ways than one. Rise of the Ronin, okay. I think that'll do okay. I don't know if Team Ninja's going to pull and be like a barn burner, but that's another great title. Concord is allegedly coming this year. I have my doubts. I think Foam Stars has bombed in the West. I think it has potential in the Asian market. They're doing tournaments and stuff. So until we see sales reports and revenue reports or player-based numbers, it's going to be hard to know whether or not that game is in fact failing. It looks on the surface like it's failed, but I still think that thing has a chance outside of America. I just don't think that game has a shot here. Astrobot could be the next major franchise. You can believe it if the character Astrobot exists for more than 10 years at this point. First appearances in Playroom in 2013. Right, but when they said major franchises, Jack, the examples they gave were Spider-Man and God of War. You think Astrobot's on the level of Kratos and Spider-Man? I just don't think so. I'm not trying to besmirch our little cutie guy Astrobot. I'm not trying to besmirch the little guy, but I don't think anybody would be like, yeah, that's a major franchise for PlayStation. People are buying consoles for Astrobot. No, I don't think so. My kids loved the game. It's a cool little game, but I don't think it's a major title. Isn't Wolverine coming this year? No. That was what we learned from the leaks. Wolvie's not. I don't even know if Wolvie's next year. I think it might be next year, or the Venom game might be next year. Nobody frickin' knows. Those time charts and roadmaps they had were all over the place. I think he's supposed to be next year, and Venom's supposed to be the year after. This year we're likely going to see Spider-Man DLC and potentially Spider-Man multiplayer. According to the documents and the leaks, I think we see Spider-Man DLC this year and potentially it gets baked in with multiplayer. And that's what they'll do. Wolverine will land. A year later, Wolvie will get DLC and multiplayer. And then a year after that, you would get Venom. So that would actually put Venom in 2026. Nintendo Direct has been delayed due to the Xbox podcast. I thought for a second, I was like, dude, there's no freaking way Nintendo's going to do a Direct today. Are you kidding me? This is going to be a tectonic moment in gaming. You can't walk out with your partner Direct. I heard this week that they were discussing moving the Direct because of the Xbox business update. I've never known the date for sure. I've only ever heard by the middle of February. Yeah, there was versions where Venom came before Wolvie, and then there was versions where Wolvie became before Venom. Yeah, it's all a mess. Not a mess, but it's like there's no way to know. We don't know the timeline. You're applying to IGN. I hope I get the job. God of War and Ratchet and Clank are coming to Game Pass. Yeah, just change the quotations around, right? Hiroki Totoki talked about how they can make more money on PC. I mean, just change the words, right? Just words. They're just words, so who cares? Just make Hiroki Totoki say that they see profitability putting games on the Nintendo Wii. You know, just change the words. Just say whatever you want at this point, you know? There's no rules, yeah? Just say whatever the heck you want. What's Sony's next live service scheduled? They've not said. I'm telling you what, they're gonna buy the studio behind Helldivers. I think by summer we have an announcement that they've acquired Arrowhead. They're going to want to increase funding, increase staff size. They're going to want to increase cadence. They're going to want to increase server capacity. I think they buy Arrowhead by mid-year. Oh, that's right. Concord's supposed to be later this year. That's like a shooter. Is it supposed to be an extraction shooter? I told you everybody was going to start doing extraction shooters. Sony should stop making movie games and start adding more gameplay. And I think they would take over the market even more. They would win me over. I feel like you need to play the games, though. Okay. I'm not going to try to convince you to get a PlayStation 5. I'm going to tell you a story. So, there was a guy who showed up on my Twitter feed one day, and he had finally decided to get a PS5. And he had played some of the games, and he said he felt as if he had been lied to. And we've had some other people be like, yeah, those games get overhyped. And then they buy the PlayStation 5, and they're like, no, the hype is real. These games are amazing. The quality is fantastic. Oh, you have a PlayStation 5. I'm just curious, which games have you played to completion that you would classify as a movie game? I'm just curious, which ones and why? Texas Scientist with a $5 super chat tip. My prediction is a new Sega Bass Fishing Kona Brother. What the heck? Oh, Concord's not an extraction? Okay. Yo, it's good, Marcus. You played God of War 2018, and you played Spider-Man. Okay. And you felt like those were movie games. You felt like those games didn't have enough gameplay. That's your opinion. That's fine. You can have that opinion. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm trying to understand your position. Played God of War 3, and that game was way more fun than 2018. Okay. That's fine. Everyone's different. That's totally fine. I just think there's a lot more that you should try. That have you tried Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut? I don't feel like that's a movie game at all. I feel like that's a very tight melee-based game. Amazing game. Combat in that is just beautiful. It feels so good. Great skill expression, especially in the duels. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. What a blast. Just what a pleasant and just joy to play that game. Great graphics. Just fun. Doesn't feel like a movie game at all. Returnal. Returnal is just wonderful if you can get into a rogue. I know rogues are tough to get into. I'm enjoying PlayStation games more than Xbox at the moment. You sound like me in 2022 and 2023, and that got me called and labeled a pony. Larian Studio apparently wants to open up another branch. A new studio from the developers of Baldur's Gate 3 might set up in Poland. Yeah, Horizon Forbidden West, Horizon Zero Dawn. Good night. Those don't feel like movie games. The combat is so deep in those games. I really do. I think those games are just really, really fun. I don't know. It sounds like you played 2 games and just, I don't know. You're like, I'm enjoying the games more, but I want more gameplay. And I'm like, I just, again, you're welcome to feel that way. I feel completely differently about those games. I feel like there's so much gameplay and there's so much depth to the gameplay. I've seen clips of people playing God of War and Spider-Man, and I'm like, I don't play like that. I don't play like that. What the heck? There's so much you can do. Shooting the glowy orange bits off of the robot dinosaurs is surprisingly compelling. That's right. Yeah, Last of Us Part 1 remake. Oh, now I'll grant you, The Last of Us Part 1 remake is very much narrative story driven. I will never classify it as a movie game, but it's definitely heavy on the narrative and the story. But golly, what an experience. I don't think that Sony is the only one making movie games, because Xbox is heading down that route with Hellblade 2, looks like, so I think there's just a way games are going to now. And again, I don't think that's fair to Hellblade either. I thought Hellblade 1 was magnificent, and I think Hellblade 2 looks really good. The movie game thing, and no disrespect to you, it just sounds like a thoughtless pejorative. It's just a thoughtless insult that doesn't actually mean anything. It's just a movie game, not enough gameplay. Okay, give me the antithesis. What's the opposite then? What's not a movie game and has all this wonderful gameplay? What's your example of an ideal game that isn't a movie game and has all this amazing gameplay that apparently these games are lacking? Apparently, Spider-Man, God of War, Returnal, Horizon Forbidden West, these games lack gameplay. Okay, what's the antithesis? Where are these amazing games that aren't movie games and are just focused on the gameplay? Left 4 Dead, the Gears games, Halo, God of War before 2018. Somebody said Elden Ring. So, okay. I mean, yeah, Elden Ring is incredibly light on story and cutscenes. Okay. Somebody says they're going to say Elden Ring. All right. So you guys want every game to be like Elden Ring? I'll be honest. Here's what's weird about this, okay? Here's what's weird about this. Let's just imagine that Elden Ring wasn't a Souls game, but it was still built the exact same way. Just kind of an open world action adventure game, open world adventure RPG, whatever. You do realize that Ghost of Tsushima and Horizon Forbidden West have massive open worlds with tons of combat and tons of things for you to do. They just have lots of story and narrative intermixed. What this sounds like to me is, I think we're getting at the heart of the issue, is that there are people who formed their preferences and their gamer palettes at a time where the games were very simplistic. There wasn't a lot of cutscenes. There was nothing sort of disrupting you. Just, you want to go to the next thing, right? And because you formed your palette around that, you get into a game that's like, everything stops and you got to watch a cutscene. And you're like, come on. And if they do that enough, you're like, this is a freaking movie game. I think I'm now having a better understanding of why people say that. It's like, you became a gamer in the realm and the time. You cited games where there's like, there really isn't cutscenes. You just kind of walk around as Marcus Phoenix and you're like, Dom, we got to get out of here. Like, that's the era that you sort of became a gamer. And now when a game does more than that, you're like, it's a movie game. I think I actually get it now. Cardock with a 5-bomb. And Angry Pete with a single takes us to 153. I owe you guys 5 more. Oh no, a cutscene. Shudders in horror. Like, I honestly do. I think that's what it is. I think they view it as like a disruption. And they like, Gears had some good cutscenes. Right, but they're not as often, DSB. Like, I'll be real with you. You play a game like Forbidden West or Tsushima, homie, they're constantly stopping you, and you can't even skip the scenes in Tsushima. You just gotta watch them. You're just sitting there. You're like, all right. Let me gift the 5 that I owe you guys. You can't skip them. It's just that's it. You have to watch. Single gifted coming in from Soul Train takes us to 154. What a massive day, guys. Just killer. Absolutely killer day on the channel. Thank you so much. Doc Dark said God of War can't jump, hence its bad gameplay. I guess Gears of War sucks then, right? Can't jump in that. Gears of War is like one of the most is like a monumental title. You can't jump in that game. You run like a linebacker everywhere. Klung, 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 klung. Like, come on, man. Concord has extraction written all over it. Contact site coming up, 15 seconds. Free gunners, here we go. That's what I thought, Eugene. I thought it was an extraction shooter. Kyle with the 5 spot says, Halo Master Chief Collection got an update like 2 days ago, just a bug patch, but after like a year of no updates, seems suspicious right before the business update. Yeah, you never know, dude. You never know. You never know, bro. Doc Dark also said Scorn was a masterpiece. I didn't get to finish it, but I thought Scorn was pretty cool. I just think they did a really bad job marketing it. They marketed it, they made it look like a shooter, and it's not really a shooter. Unskippable dialogue and cutscenes are the worst. I will only agree with you, Darren, on a replay. I don't agree with you on the first time through. I think the developer has every right to be like, no, man, we put a lot of work into this story and to the dialogue and the cutscenes, and we're not going to let you just button mash your way through it. I've got some respect for that. You know? I've got respect for that. Hellblade's a bad game, can't jump. Yeah, can't jump in Hellblade. Bad game. I mean, I'm keeping you honest, Doc. He's not here. He's not here. Keeping you honest, Doc Dark. You know? Hopefully he makes that criticism in every game he plays, you know? If you can't jump, it's a bad game, you know? Just uninstall it. There's all those videos like, can you pet the dog? I think Doc Dark should just start a channel that says, can you jump? You know? Welcome back to CYJ, YouTube channel where we ask the question, can you jump? We're going to play this game today. All right, we're booting it up. And press the button, go through the tutorial. Nope, you can't jump. All right, we'll see you in the next video. This trash is getting uninstalled right now. Can you jump? Like, just, you know what I'm saying? He's got a whole new channel he can start. I think there's a lot of clickability there. Doesn't the creator of God of War hate the direction that God of War has taken in the more modern games? I mean, Jaffe has said, I don't know if he's used the word hate. He doesn't like that they've made Kratos soft, which I don't know how you can play through Ragnarok and Valhalla and interpret him as soft. He rips people to pieces. he seems like he's developed the ability to reflect on what he's done and consider different paths forward. I don't think that makes him soft at all. I think it makes him it makes him strong. It makes him incredibly strong. To not be one-dimensional. He's a multi-dimensional being in person now. He not only will destroy everything in his path and rip your face off like he's peeling the wrapper off of a candy bar, he also considers and weighs his actions. That is a strong man. A man who lacks strength is not in control of himself. And he throws tantrums, and he yells and screams and just beats people up. That's not a strong man. A strong man can do what's necessary while also questioning the impact of what he's doing. He's in control of himself. He's aware. He's analyzing his choices. I think we've created this fake notion of strength, right? Like these guys. There was a guy yesterday just going in on me, and I'm like, you're just name calling and attacking me. Like, did you just come across as an insecure, weak man when you do that? Like, what are you doing? You don't seem to have control of yourself. You seem like you're throwing a tantrum. You're just a pony. You're a coping, fake neutral, blank riding. Are you okay? What's the matter? People talk to me like I've insulted their family. Like, good night. What in the world? He understands that you shouldn't punch your way through life, even though he could. That makes him even stronger, right? The idea that he could tear it all down. He could destroy anything in his path. It takes more strength. I'm trying to teach this to my son. It's like it takes more strength to show restraint than to just fly off and hit somebody, right? Young boys struggle with that. They get angry and they're just going to hit. It's just a thing that they deal with. And I'm like, that's not a sign of strength. It takes way more strength to show restraint than to just hit somebody because you're angry. You're bottling something that's volatile and channeling it and then speaking it out and saying, what you just did made me angry. That is strength. I think we have so many false notions about what strength looks like, It's just from this bygone era of like, big boys don't cry. It's like, are we really stuck in that faux, fake masculinity still? Like, what? Tony, I just bought a PS5, been on Xbox, love Sony. Let's just make games great. I don't care about the console. Well, yeah, we can get a little bit back on subject here. I really, really am excited about their handheld efforts because from where I sit, I don't think there's a path where Xbox delivers some high-end console. Like, I don't think there's a path where they do that. I think if they develop a really great handheld, it's like, well, okay, now you have my attention. If the Surface team helps with it, especially the Microsoft Surface team, okay, now you have my attention. Because it's like, well, what on earth? Like, I know they're not. I'm extremely confident. If they launch another high-end console, I have 18 questions about what that even frickin' means. Let's just call it the Xbox Next. Right? The Xbox Next. And let's say it's crazy. It's like really, really strong, and it's going toe-to-toe with the PlayStation 6 or something. Okay, what in the world are you going to do with the Series S? I could see you cross-generationally support the Series X, as well as make multi-plat games that land on the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro. But what on earth are you going to do with the Series S? If you always have to make sure your games are... Like, that's one of my major questions about all of this. It's like, well, where does the Series S factor into all of this? It'll be a cloud box, says Lone Wolf. That's what I've been saying. They're just going to convert the Series S into a cloud box. So does that mean... But then I snag on so many things I snag on. I'm like, okay, wait. If every screen is an Xbox, if Sarah Bond is being properly quoted, if every screen is an Xbox, why create a low margin, potentially loss lead high-end device? Why? Why do that? If every screen is an Xbox, what motivation is there for them to make a really expensive high-end console? What? Do they think there's going to be demand in the market for that? There's been a greater demand for their Series S. They made more Series S's. They made less Series X's. So it's like, why on earth would you suddenly be like what Solaire is saying? Yeah, $700, $800 high-end console. Why? What on earth? Why would they do that? All the R&D, all the raw materials, all the production lines dedicated to that. And for what? If every screen is an Xbox, why would you do that? If you're no longer leveraging titles like Indiana Jones to get people to buy your Xbox, why would you invest that much research and development and capital and all that risk on a high-end piece of hardware? It doesn't make any sense. I can't see the business angle on it. It's like, why? Do you think there'd be a high demand for a box like that? I don't think that there would be. They're losing people to PlayStation. We've seen that in the North American market. Every screen is an Xbox is a fantastic marketing slogan. It really is. It really is. I've always thought that the 900 IQ play was they're going to play the software angle and they're just going to put their dadgum games everywhere. His doc is right. Right about what? Are they losing people to PlayStation because of hardware or because of games? No, that's a good question. It could be a handful of things, Zuby. It could be hardware availability. I mean, PlayStation 5 did a better job last year of saturating the market with the PlayStation 5 versus the Series X. But I do think it's games. Which goes back to what I said. Why would you take on the risk and the potential loss and the potential narrow margins of a high-end box if your strategy going forward is every screen is an Xbox? They're antithetical to each other. They don't interlock. There's no synergy there. Because the games don't sell the console, was that not his angle? He's factually incorrect. I mean, he can make great clips and yell on my podcast. I love Doc for that, but he's factually incorrect. Look at all the statistics. The attach rate of Spider-Man 2, the sales rates of the first-party property every time they did a PlayStation 5 restock, the bundles, and he wants to be like, got you, checkmate, the Modern Warfare 3 bundles. He understands, hopefully, that the Modern Warfare 3 bundles showed up like 4 years, basically, into the life cycle of the console. Like... That's not what drove sales this gen for PS5. You think they got the 50 million because of Call of Duty? That doesn't make any sense. What's been driving PlayStation 5? What's been the driving sales on their platform every time they did a restock? What was it? It was their first-party property. And then if you look at the attach rate of Spider-Man, it's just absolutely stupid. It's like, oh my gosh. No, his position on that, he said that on my podcast before, and he's welcome to think that, and I think he is wrong. I think you can demonstrate that he's wrong. I think it's easy to demonstrate that he's wrong. You just look at the sales numbers. What happens if you don't sell consoles at a loss? Can you return a profit and also keep the ability to be a platform? Don't go Windows Phone. I think they could make profit on a handheld, Zubair, because I think the market would be more accepting of a handheld at a high dollar amount. If we look at the Steam Deck as an example. If we look at the Steam handheld as an example, the market is more receptive to a high-end handheld. I think Microsoft can cut into the handheld market. I think they have the ability to. I think if there's one area they could innovate and do well in, it's actually the handheld market. Watch it. Just watch it. Watch what they do. That's going to be one of their big inroads for growth. That we're going to see a duke out, I think, in the handheld market. That's one of the new frontiers, honestly. And Nintendo told everybody how many years ago, hey, come on, the people are going to want to do this. And everyone thought, that the Nintendo was DOA because of the power. I mean, Bobby Kotick even said we underestimated the Nintendo Switch. So to me, they could sell a cloud hybrid and actually make a teeny bit of money on it. It won't be a very high value, high dollar item. You know, they could make some profit margin on a cloud hybrid because it's not going to be very expensive. That's just a cloud access point. And then they could sell some hybrid handheld device or something. What's Nintendo doing next to stay ahead of the curve? Delivering a Switch with amazing first-party property. If they drop a Nintendo Switch and they have launch titles like Metroid Prime and Mario Kart, and they appeal to people who might have held off on Zelda. I mean, Zelda sold like crazy both times. I mean, they can lean their first-party property. It's just dumb. It's dumb how popular their first-party property is. The Switch 2 just needs a couple of launch titles and a Pokemon game, and they're fine. They're fine. You get a Metroid and a Mario Kart and a Mario game and a Pokemon, and they'll lead again with market saturation. They'll do it again. It's absolutely bonkers what they're able to do with their property. And so these people are like, exclusives are going to go away. Nintendo's like, no, they're not. Nintendo laughs at that notion. They'll be fine market-wise, not what I'm saying. I'm asking, what's the next zig now that the rest of the market is zagging? Oh, I see what you're saying, Zuby. You're saying they always kind of deviate, and if the handheld market starts to get saturated, what are they going to do? You know why I can't tell you, Zuby? Because we never know what they're gonna do. We never know what they're gonna do. Nintendo's they're kind of crazy. They're kind of crazy. I tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a waiting room. We're not gonna do writers because there's been too many gifted members and we have too many members right now. Let me give you a total member count. I think we're gonna do a members only waiting room. So that way we have way more people hanging out. We have 3,014 members. Let me do a waiting room for this show, okay? So that you guys that are all members can come with us. All gifted members can come with us. We're not going to do a writer's room. I'm not going to get on the phone with my producer. We're not going to do that. We're going to give him the afternoon off. Let me... we're going to go the Xbox podcast waiting room. And we're going to go all members. All right? We'll take everybody with us. There's no reason to close it off. And then I'm going to change the thumbnail from the writer's room to a Reforge Refuge members only thumbnail. All right? All right? All right? Okay. Visibility. Make it private at first. We don't need to be hitting everybody's noties. Nintendo survived GameCube and the Wii U. They'll be fine. You got that right. They sold frickin' cardboard to people. Oh, let's see. Members only. Save. Oh, well, see you guys. Cookie, anybody who's not a member, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Smash the like button. Keep coming back. You will get a membership if you hang out here enough. Not a member, I want to hear your input when it goes live. I will stream a public stream, co-stream when it goes live. Come back here in about an hour and a half. Come back here in about an hour and a half, and I'll be hanging out with everybody. And then I'm going to join a roundtable with Ginger Prime, J-Dub, and Kirk from What's New Video Games. So, guys, you will want to be here for that, okay? It'll be a blast. So I'm only doing this so I can have like a lunch break and hang out with members, and this stream has gone on long enough. We're closing in on the 3-hour mark, and I don't like going beyond 3 hours. This is also a great opportunity for gifted members to get a sample of the members only content. We get to kind of like let our hair down, calm down. I stretch my legs, I use the restroom, I eat my lunch, all those things, right? So let me put the link in chat. That's where we're headed. If you are a member, that's going to be the waiting room. That's going to be the waiting room for the podcast. Okay. Thank you so much for honestly, for being a Reforge member. You may have gotten gifted a member. Huge week, back up to over 3,000 members. There'll be a Friday night stream. It'll be a bit later than normal, though, because we are going to be coming back from something. My wife and I are going to play Helldivers 2. It's going to be hilarious. All members can come to that. Gifted everybody. We're going to let you kind of sample what a Friday night stream with my wife is like. We do put an emoji in front of her because we do feel like that's just a privacy thing, right? If I'm going to have my family on stream, we want that to be generally reserved for paying members. But gifted members, you're going to get to sample that this week. You're getting to sample members only content right now as we do a waiting room for the Xbox podcast. So if you're watching this later, I'm going to end the previous stream where we talked about the podcast and